ESPN College Football Prime Time, presented by Buffalo Wild Wings, comes to Lewis Crew Stadium on the campus of Alabama A&M in Huntsville, Alabama, for a SWAC matchup as the Golden Lions of Arkansas Pine-Bluff come in to take on the Bulldogs of Alabama A&M. Hello, everyone. Charlie Neal, along with my partner, Eddie Robinson Jr., and welcome to Huntsville. And these are the two teams that played in the SWAC championship a year ago, won by Alabama A&M. Coming into the season, both were picked to win their respective divisions. Alabama A&M so far has lived up to its expectations, but tonight Arkansas Pine-Bluff gets a chance to play the part of the spoiler.
Well, Arkansas Pine-Bluff just can't get things going on offense. They averaged 27 points per game last year. That's down to 14 points per game, and the quarterback's been sacked 28 times. But they're a very talented team, so you have to watch out for them because they can put all that together tonight and put up a big offensive performance.
And one of the things that's happened to Arkansas Pine-Bluff is they're losing games late. Here a couple of weeks ago at New Mexico State, they get the ball down to the one. They score, tie the game at 17 apiece. But with no time left, Paul Young kicks a 37-yard field goal for New Mexico State. They go away on the losing end, 20-17. It has been a rough year for Mo Forte.
Yeah, that's the recurring theme. They get into a lot of close games, 4 out of 5 losses by 7 points or less, but they still have the talent from last year. They just can't get the magic back from last year.
Well, talking about getting the magic back, the Arkansas Pine-Bluff Bulldogs will have their hands full tonight facing Kelsey Luke, the preeminent quarterback for Alabama A&M.
Yeah, Kelsey Luke, what's not to like about this guy? Everybody's All-American, 16 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. He gets better every year. He's 28-9 as a starter. That says a whole lot. He's never been All-SWAC, never been Player of the Year. I think that will change, and he may can lead Alabama A&M back to the SWAC championship game once again.
And it's the 11th time that these two teams have met since they joined the SWAC back in 1997, 1998. And Alabama A&M leads at 6-4, and they're getting ready for this contest tonight.
Our team do many things. Help us win this fight. To help us win this fight. Courage, pride, poise. Courage, pride, poise. Show us what is right. Show us what is right. And if we don't do what is right, we'll find out what is wrong. We'll find out what is wrong. Our team will never give up. 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 We've been fighting for too long. We've been fighting for too long. Let's go, Boy Scouts of America. 30 A&M.
Attention. The Arkansas Pine-Bluff will get the opening kickoff here at Lewis Crew Stadium in Huntsville, Alabama, the SWAC matchup. Mo Forte is the head coach of the Golden Lions of Arkansas Pine-Bluff, and you see he's in his 4th season there. He will be coaching from the press box tonight. He's done it the last couple games. He did it last year after having high blood pressure, and he's gone back up there. They're pretty good up when he's upstairs, he says. He's just not down there with the officials. And on the other side, Anthony Jones, and he has done a fantastic job, 23-5 at home as the head coach here in Huntsville, Alabama. His 9th year overall, 6th year as the head coach of Alabama A&M. And the band cam is alive and well tonight. And we'll be following the Alabama A&M band under the direction of Arthur Wesley, their band director who will be Mike tonight. And we'll hear him as we go along. But anyway, the Pine-Bluff Golden Lions will get the opening kickoff.
Charlie, that should be pretty exciting having the actual band director, Mike, because you always wonder, you know, you see him with the stick and they're doing all of the waving of the hands.
What does he say?
What is he saying? I want to know that too.
And there you see Sean Kyler, the sophomore from Stone Mountain, Georgia, getting set to kick it off in the dark jerseys and the white pants being worn by the home team, Alabama A&M, and of course Arkansas Pine-Bluff, gold pants and the white jerseys being worn by the visitors.
We talked to Mo Forte. One thing he said is special teams has been solid, but they haven't scored on special teams. So we'll see with this opening kickoff if they can break that trend in 2007.
Bruce Peters, one of the men deep. And the other man chasing it down is Trey Austin on the far side, and it'll go in the end zone. It'll be brought out to the 20. So Arkansas Pine-Bluff gets the ball for the first time tonight. First down and 10 at their own 20. They will start Chris Wallace at the quarterback. Here's a young man who was a preseason player of the year in the Southwestern Athletic Conference. Lost his job after the Alcorn game and to Jonathan Moore. Jonathan Moore hurt a week ago. Wallace came in and rallied the team against Grounding. They did fall short in that contest, but you look at what he's done so far this year, just 2 touchdowns passing, and he has a pretty good set of running backs in the backfield behind him.
Yeah, but last year, 2,000-yard passing and 20 touchdowns. This guy can have a big game. He's done it, and he's proven it before.
And he's back to pass on first down. The left-hander throws it, intercepted on the first play of the ball game. It is being intercepted and brought back by Alabama A&M. Donaldson on the interception for the Bulldogs. And for Donaldson, that is his 4th career interception. Al Donaldson out of Crawfordville, Florida.
Yeah, Charlie, this has to be a mix-up with the wide receivers. You can tell. The routes just aren't matching. I mean, he's overthrown the guy big time, but should have never thrown that ball. He wasn't open, and Chris Wallace is not a good way to start a football game, an interception on your first pass.
Well, it looks like maybe Jonathan Moore may be off the bench, whether he can play or not.
Well, Jonathan Moore has a banged-up hand, and right now they're probably taping that hand up to see if he can get it going.
At the Pine-Bluff 20, first down and 10. Here comes Kelsey Luke on the pitch to the left side to Ulysses Banks. And Banks has run out of bounds after a 4-yard gain down to the 16-yard line. As you look at Kelsey Luke, no preseason polls. As a starter, 28-9. He's from Phoenix City, Alabama. Started his college career at Auburn, transferred after 1 year, and decided to come along with his brother Nick Luke, who was at Alabama, to Alabama A&M. It is second down and 6. Ball at the 16-yard line. Working out of the shotgun is Kelsey Luke. And again, they give it to Ulysses Banks, and Banks gets inside the 15 to about the 14-yard line. A gain of 2 more on the play. He'll be about 4 yards shy to bring up a 3rd down.
Ulysses Banks is a kid who was a big-time kickoff returner last year, was ranked nationally in kickoff returns, but now he's seen a lot of time at running back, a lot of speed from him. And they like to get him on the edge and the perimeter, but he'll also try to test the middle of that defense a little. And
he is checked out of the lineup. Anthony Green has checked in. Or correction, make that Janarian McWhorter, number 43, has checked in. And you see what Alabama A&M has done in the red zone so far this year. Luke back to pass, throws, has the first down, complete on the far sideline. And it's Thomas Harris on the reception. The sophomore out of Alexander City, Alabama. And that is his 28th reception of the year. And he's going to come to the sideline. He lost his shoe, but he gets the first down at his first down and goal. Number 1 in the conference in red zone offense. 23 of the 25 times that they've been in the end zone, Alabama A&M has scored. They have scored 17 touchdowns, 9 of them running, 8 passing, and they're 6 of 7 in field goals. They have a pretty good field goal kicker in Jeremy Lycia.
Yeah, 92% is a great number for red zone efficiency.
And going to the left side, McWhorter doesn't have much running room and is brought down after a short gain. And make that Ulysses Banks rather on the carry. And he is stopped there by Anton Williams.
And with Pine-Bluff, it would be big for their defense. If they can hold Alabama A&M to a field goal in this situation after you come on a short field and basically you're just giving them a possession. You can hold them to 3 points. It's a good start for your defense to show what you're going to be made of tonight.
Second down and goal from the 7-yard line. You saw the shot of Ulysses Banks, who was a SWAC Freshman of the Year a year ago. Out of Birmingham, Alabama, went to Parker High down there. Luke back to pass. And under a little pressure, pulls up, throws it out of the end zone. It's incomplete. Nobody there. Charles Moody, the tight end, was the closest one to it. And it'll bring up a 3rd and goal. And on 3rd down efficiency this year, 36% for the Bulldogs of Alabama A&M.
Yeah, but you can see why they're at 92% in the red zone. 5th-year senior at quarterback, knows what the coach is thinking. Hey, it's only 2nd down. No one is open in the end zone. I'm not going to force it and make a mistake. Throw it out of bounds. You still have a 3rd down play. Worst case scenario, we have a good field goal kicker. We're going to get 3 points out of this drive.
Anthony Jones talking and sending the plays in with the backup quarterback Kevin Atkins on the sideline. Let's see what they come up with on this 3rd down play. Stockdale in motion. Quick pass into the corner of the end zone. This one's going to be incomplete. Just a little bit too big. So they're going to bring on the field goal kicker, Jeremy Lycia. to put 3 points on the board. So for all practical purposes, Arkansas Pine-Bluff kind of dodged the bullet there.
Yeah, they dodged the big bullet, because one thing I was about to say when they had that first offensive possession is you want to be patient and get the running game going and start the game on a positive note. So to give up 7 points is definitely not how you want to start a football game on the road.
He intercepted the ball, brought it back to the 20, stopped at the 7. Now Lycia on for a 23-yard field goal. Lycia so far this year in field goals, he's only missed one. His longest is 42. This is a 23-yarder. It's up. It's through the uprights. It's good, and it's 3-0. Alabama A&M with 11:54 remaining in the first quarter. So they take advantage of the interception and the turnover, and they kick a field goal. And they take it all the way down. 23-yard field goal. Lycia. It's 3-0. Three to nothing the score here in Huntsville, Alabama, on the campus of Alabama A&M. It's a SWAC matchup. Arkansas Pine-Bluff along with Alabama A&M, along with Eddie Robinson. I'm Charlie Neal, and you look at Lycia and what he's done and how he's improved since last season. 25 of 32 in PATs, 4 of 7 in field goals, and this year he's only missed one PAT and only missed one field goal. So what an improvement for him as Arkansas Pine-Bluff gets the ball for the second time this evening. The first play that they had so far tonight ended in a turnover. Now let's see if we can hold on to the ball a little better this time as they start at their own 25. Let's look at their offensive alignment, starting with the offensive line with Jason Thomas, Terrence Billings, Jonathan Portia, Bobby Torres, and Patrick Kapuniai. Out of Hawaii at the running backs is Martell Mallett and Delvon Nixon. The wide receivers Ryan Watley and Jason Jones. Remo Gay is the tight end. And this time the quarterback Wallace almost fell in handing the ball off to Mallett, trying to go off the left side.
I mean, Chris Wallace just having a rough start. I mean, his first play was an interception. And like you said, he almost fell on that handoff. He just needs to settle down. He's a good quarterback. He can get things going. Let's
look at the defensive alignment for Alabama A&M. The down linemen, Chris Traylor, Justin Harper, Whitney Garrett, and Jeremy Maddox. The linebackers, Avery Mullen, a good one, along with Carlton Rice and Antonio Nelson. And in the secondary, Stephen Tucker. Al Donaldson has the interception tonight. Darian Payne and Maurice Thomas. It is second down. 2nd and 7 after that last gain of 3. And this time the quarterback falls, loses the ball, is tackled, and I believe that Alabama A&M has it. They do. So the second turnover after 3 plays. This time Martell Mallett couldn't hold on. And coming up with the ball on the fumble recovery. Let's see who came up with that for Alabama A&M. It looks like Chris Traylor.
Yeah, but that was just an example. Martell Mallett was never able to touch the ball. I mean, Chris Traylor came in there and just made a great play on knocking the ball out of the quarterback's hand. But now you have Alabama A&M is back in scoring position. I mean, they came into this game +8 in the turnover margin, but now they're at +10, obviously. But Pine-Bluff they have to protect the football. You can't come on the road and have 2 turnovers on your first 2 possessions like this.
In 3 plays. That's what's even more ironic. Here's a pass. And it's incomplete, intended for Rashad Johnson. Let's look at Alabama A&M's offense. The line that's been much improved. Darius Turner, along with Russell Jackson, Xavier Manuel, Charles Meade, and James Sanders. Sanders and Turner, preseason all-conference selections. In the backfield, Ulysses Banks and Janarian McWhorter. The wide receivers, Thomas Harris, Gerald Stockdale, and the tight end is Charles Moody. A young group of receivers. Rashad Johnson is a freshman. Thomas Harris is a sophomore. Gerald Stockdale is a senior, and Charles Moody is a senior, redshirt senior. But for the most part, they're young. Here's a pass by Luke out in the flat, and it's complete, and it's to Banks coming out of the backfield, and Banks gets it down inside the 15 to about the 14-yard line, where the stop is made. As you look at James Sanders, who you saw in the pregame little thing that we did with them in the locker room. As you look at the defense of Michael Johnson, Kenneth Leichman, Aaron Hintz, and John Sibley. The linebackers Witherspoon, Williams, and Turner. And in the secondary, you have Sonny Houston, John Keith, Stuart Franks, and Manal Webster. It is 3rd down. 3rd and 2. Trying to go to the left side. Nothing doing there for Ulysses Banks. So the defense of Pine Bluff has come to play.
Yeah, they're really playing well. And we saw those guys early in the year. They play a very aggressive style of defense, and they're very good against the run. So Alabama A&M is going to have their hands full with this Pine Bluff defense. But you can't just keep putting your defense out there in the short field. Eventually, they will give up a score. So
Lycia will come on to attempt another field goal. This one will come from 33 yards out. He kicked a 23-yarder earlier. He's only missed one this year. That came against Southern a couple weeks ago, 41-yarder, and this one is good, and it's 6-0. So a pair of mistakes by Arkansas Pine Bluffs has led to 6 points by Alabama A&M. We'll be back. ESPNU College Football, presented by Buffalo Wild Wings. You have to be here. In Huntsville, Alabama, 3 plays. And, of course, this is Space Center development for NASA. They have a space camp for kids here in Huntsville, Alabama. 9:33 the time remaining, and 3 plays and 6 points. 3 plays for Arkansas Pine Bluff. This one comes down to Bruce Peters. Peters up across the 20, trying to get to the outside, and does, and is up the sideline and finally brought down at the 33-yard line. So pretty good field position for Arkansas Pine Bluff. Their 3rd possession of the day. They've run 3 plays so far, have had 2 turnovers, which has resulted in 6 points for the home team, Alabama A&M.
Well, at this point, you just have to tell Chris Wallace, just to settle down. He's going to be okay. This guy was a quarterback who threw for over 2,000 yards last year and 20 touchdowns. He knows how to play quarterback, but he's had some adversity early on. Just settle him down, give him a quick play that he can just complete one pass and let this offense get some confidence so they can get going.
Mickey Dean is in the backfield now behind him, and he gives off to Mickey Dean, and Mickey Dean gets some running room and gets a first down out across the 45 to the 46-yard line. So Mickey Dean, the sophomore out of Little Rock Central High. As you look at Jonathan Moore on the sideline there. John Cannon is the offensive coordinator for the Golden Lions of Arkansas Pine Bluff. So a good run there by Mickey Dean, who came in averaging just 2.4 yards per carry. And he picks up 14 on that play and picks up a first down, first positive yards in terms of not turning the ball over for Arkansas Pine Bluff, if they can just keep it going. This time, Martell Mallett finds the going rough back to the line of scrimmage, and that's it for him.
And we took a look at Jonathan Moore. Now, he was actually taken over as the starting quarterback from Chris Wallace. But last game, he injured his throwing hand on the helmet of another player. So that's why Chris Wallace is back in the game as the starter. But at this point, you have to wonder, hey, can Jonathan Moore, can you go? Because Chris is having a rough start so far.
Yeah, Pine Bluff only 5 touchdowns rushing this year, 5 throwing. Last year, they were averaging 131 yards a game rushing. This year, only 71. Here's a pass into the flat, has it complete, far sideline, and so something going as Ryan Watley makes the catch and is very close to picking up another first down, and may have for Arkansas Pine Bluff, as Chris Wallace seems like he settled down and had a better angle on that pass that time.
Well, he may have gotten on the phone with Coach Mo Forte. Of course, he's up in the booth coaching, but you have to call down and say, hey, kid, just settle down. You're our guy. We have to ride with you tonight, but we need some good positive plays out of you. There's Mo up there. And, he moved from the field to the booth last year. He started off on the field this year. Now he's back up in the booth. So he's kind of playing musical chairs from the coaching spot.
No question about it. As there was a penalty added on, a face mask against Alabama A&M, which moved the ball a little closer as far as the goal line is concerned for Arkansas Pine Bluff. They're one of those big play teams that can strike quickly as we keep the ball on the ground with Mickey Dean carrying for maybe a yard.
And Charlie, that's the big thing that's the problem with this Pine Bluff team. Last year, Coach Jones, the head coach for Alabama A&M, said they would just have a couple plays here and there, 2 yards, 3 yards, and all of a sudden an 80-yard bomb. All of a sudden a 70-yard play. And last week they had a 79-yard touchdown by the talented receiver Jason Jones. But for the most part, it's been a pretty slow going. They haven't had those big plays, and they don't seem like they're an offense that's patient enough just to move down the field slowly.
And at the end of that game, they had a 63-yard pass to Jones that was called back because of an illegal procedure penalty. And they're sitting there still trying to find the procedure procedure, which called that one back.
Yeah, would have been the go-ahead score.
Here's a pass toward the end zone. This is going to be incomplete. Now, way down the field is Jason Jones. We were just talking about him, one of the favorite receivers. 28 receptions, number 3 receiver in the SWAC, coming in averaging 72 yards per game in catches.
Yeah, and Jason Jones is a guy that you want. Whenever you have one-on-one coverage, you just throw it up to him, because here's a guy who's an athlete. He can go up and make the tough catch. One of the better receivers in the conference. Only has 2 touchdowns this year, but I think that's just a product of the overall offense not having success, but definitely not of the type of talent that this guy has.
Only 30% on third down conversions. That is Pine-Bluff so far this season. And they're facing a 3rd and 9 right now at the 37-yard line of Alabama A&M. Wallace standing in there with time, throws it, has it complete to Jason Jones, and he's tackled right at about the 30-yard line. And coming up with the tackle there was Bobby McClain, the strong safety, and that should be enough for a first down. Or is it? No, it's going to be short by about a yard. It'll be 4th down and 1 as you look at Bobby McClain, the red-shirted a couple years ago, limping off after making that tackle.
And I think they should go for it, because we talked to Coach Mo Forte about being aggressive. I mean, you're in the 4th down situation, you're on the road, you're down 6-0. What do you have to lose? You're 1-5 overall. This year is your record. Hey, be aggressive, go for it on 4th down, try to make something happen.
And they are 1 of 7 in 4th down conversions this year, just 14%. And the handoff to Martell Mallett, hitting the backfield, breaks away, still on his feet at the 10, and finally brought down inside the 10 at the 7-yard line. He was stopped in the backfield and got away and picked up the first down. You're talking about aggressive running. That was aggressive running.
Yeah, that's aggressive and a very determined running back here at Martell Mallett. I mean, this play, look, they're just timing up the snap. 2 A&M defenders in the backfield. Look like they're going to get him for the loss, but he's able to struggle and get free. And Martell Mallett is a guy over 1,000 yards rushing last year. He's a big-time runner, just hasn't had success early on this year.
And it was Carlton Rice, the first man to hit him there. Finally, Stephen Tucker brought him down, but his 1st and goal for Pine-Bluff at the 7-yard line. And here again is Martell Mallett to the 5, touchdown, and it's Arkansas Pine-Bluff, and they're right on the scoreboard, and they have tied this ball game up quickly.
Well, I mean, hey, last year they were averaging 28 points a game. We know they can score. They haven't been doing that this year, only averaging 14 points a game, but the talent is still on this football team offensively, so you have to be careful if you're A&M to think, hey, they're only averaging 14 points a game. It's the same guys from last year. They're just not getting it done.
John Heflin for the point after. He's only missed 1 PAT this year. He missed 2 a year ago, 6 of 38. He's 9 of 10 this year. And just like that, after the mistakes, the 2 big mistakes that Arkansas Pine-Bluff made on their first 3 plays, all of a sudden they're leading in this ball game with 6:08 to go in the first quarter, 7-6 the score. As you look at a shot of Martell Mallett on the sideline, only his 3rd touchdown rushing this season. 8 plays, 67-yard drive, and he takes it in from 7 yards out at 32 rushing yards on 3 attempts so far this evening, and he helped on that drive with a couple of big runs. In fact, the one that broke away that took it all the way down for 1st and goal.
Yeah, I mean, he basically took over that drive himself, but last year, 14 rushing touchdowns by Mallett. I mean, his whole Pine-Bluff offense numbers are down, but they have the talent on his team to have a big performance at any time.
Heflin to kick it off. On the return, Ulysses Banks, a very dangerous return man, out to the 31-yard line. The 3rd time today, A&M will get the ball, but let's look at some of the problems that Pine-Bluff had early on. This one picked off by Donaldson, takes it back to the 20-yard line. Then the next play, they fumble the ball, and fortunately for the defense on 4th down here's a big run by Martell Mallett that gets them into the end zone with the 7-yard run. So the defense is held stiff as far as Arkansas Pine Bluff is concerned. And you look at what the offense has done this year as far as last year, 323 yards a game a year ago and going to the SWAC championship. And they won their last 7 games of the year, just 273 yards a game this year. As Luke is back to pass on first down, throwing it long out to the sideline, and it's overthrown, a little pump fake. And he was trying to get it to Thomas Harris, one of his favorite receivers.
And you see Luke take some shots deep. 16 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. I mean, this guy really knows how to take what the defense is giving him, and he has the autonomy to make changes if he wants to. If he wants to go deep, he's going to go deep. Coach Jones is going to give him that pleasure, but just a little bit overthrown, because that should have been the catch. No question about it. You know, the team has more speed this year than in the past. They were a pound and ground team. They like to run the ball, but 25 yards was big then. But now they don't have a problem getting the big plays, as Luke kicks the ball and gets it out to the 41-yard line before he stopped about 2 yards shy of a first down, bringing up a 3rd down situation. Well, Kelsey Luke, no preseason polls, sacked only 7 times coming into the contest. So the line has done a pretty good job with some young people up front, like Russell Jackson, a redshirt freshman, and Charles Meade, who's a sophomore, and Xavier Manuel, a sophomore. The veterans up there are Turner, Darius Turner, and James Sanders. Darius Anthony out of the lineup for Arkansas Pine Bluff, a couple of broken hands, and so he won't see any action today as they try to go right with Ulysses Banks, and he's tied up. It'll bring up a 4th down situation. So the Arkansas Pine Bluff defense is bent, but it has not broken. They've given up a couple field goals, but remember, when Alabama got the ball, they were already in Pine Bluff territory. Yeah, they were inside the 30-yard line both times. So to give up only 6 points is a great advantage to this Arkansas Pine Bluff defense. Now you come up and you have a 3-and-out situation. So the Pine Bluff defense got off the bus, ready to play some football. No question about it. And Alabama A&M is going to have to punt it away. Rashawn Kyler is the punter. Bruce Peters, ranked 3rd in the SWAC in kickoff returns, leads the SWAC in punt returns, calls for the fair catch at the 19-yard line. In the nation, when you look at the Arkansas Pine Bluff, and as far as the NCAA football championship subdivision, they're in the bottom 15 in several categories. They're tied for 110th in rushing yards a game, 105th in total yards per game, 104th in points per game, and 115th in sacks allowed. We're talking about sacks allowed. They've allowed 28 sacks coming into this contest. And the number there is only 116 teams. So when you have 4 offensive categories and you're in the hundreds, I mean, that's a lot of teams that are better than you. But the talent on this team is there. But why they have those numbers, I really can't explain that. Wallace throws it out, has it complete up the field to Jason Jones, and Jones a first down at the 35-yard line. So they've come out with a vengeance. You know, you talk about the last 2 ball games that this team has played. You know, they lost to New Mexico State. We talked about that 37-yard field goal in the open with 1 second left for the win for New Mexico State. They led Grambling after scoring on the first play with a 79-yard pass play to Moore. But they had 5 turnovers, and they were sacked 3 times, and they still only lost by 6 points. They were rallying against Grambling last week as Martell Mallett gets the call and picks up 4 yards for the hard way. Of course, the offensive coordinator for Alabama A&M, Cedric Pearl, up in the booth. Next to him, Roger Totten, the wide receivers coach, the brother of Willie Totten, the head coach of Mississippi Valley. And Coach Totten came over from Mississippi Valley last year. And the good thing that Coach Jones says is Coach Pearl watches the defensive line. And then Coach Totten will come back, and he'll also watch the back. So it gives him a great advantage for calling plays and not have to watch the individual players. Wallace wants to throw it and throws incomplete and is dropped by the receiver. It still was going to be short of a first down, even if he'd have held on to it. There you see the intended receiver there, and that is Lance Lemons, number 83. We'll see if Pine Bluff can convert on this 3rd down. I mean, that's something. They're 30% on the year, so not terribly bad, but they have to keep drives going if they want to put additional points on the scoreboard. We'll see what they have.
Well, they've only had one so far today, and they haven't been successful. They're 1-1 on 4th downs. Plenty of time. The throw complete, 1st down with plenty to spare. So they get the 1st down. Demetric Beverly, the senior out of Birmingham, Alabama, 17th catch for him this year, and he moves the chains forward across midfield into A&M territory.
This is a good throw. I mean, Chris Wallace is stepping up in the pocket and avoiding the rush, and he has to do that. He has to really settle down. I mean, this kid can throw the football, but the biggest thing is this year, 28 sacks. I mean, this offensive line is young. They came into the season young, and they're just taking a long time to really gel together and play some good football.
Well, Coach said they're getting better, and that's the most important thing you can have, as Mickey Dean is stopped immediately. They're the most sacked team in the SWAC. 115th in the nation. Portland State has had the most sacks coming into this weekend. They've been sacked 31 times.
Wow, so they're almost last again. That's Justin Harper, number 98. Now, keep in mind, his dad, Gary Harper, is actually a coach over at Arkansas Pine-Bluff. So you're like nothing more to beating your dad. Seemed like you did in the SWAC championship game last year.
Yeah, his dad is a defensive line coach for Arkansas Pine-Bluff. Actually hadn't lived with his dad since he was 6 years old. His mother and dad separated at that time, but they still have maintained a pretty close bond. Here's a swing pass out in the flat, and here's Mickey Dean. And Mickey Dean has dropped at about the 41-yard line with 2 minutes to go in the 1st quarter. Good defense by Avery Mullen, the leading tackler on this team, number 55.
Yeah, Avery Mullen, inside linebacker. He moved from defensive end. Watch him come into TC right there. Man, that's how you run through a guy. I mean, Avery Mullen is a guy that has the talent to play at the next level. I mean, 5'11", 235, but this guy can run. He's a tough player, very instinctive. 1 sack this year, but he has 13 career sacks, so he also has that pass rush presence from being a former defensive end.
And of course, Johnny Baldwin, who's playing with the Kansas City Chiefs, was on this Alabama A&M team a year ago as Wallace goes back to pass. And this one is incomplete to Mickey Dean coming out of the backfield. So that was intended actually for 83, Lance Lemons. And that'll bring up a 4th down. So this will be the first time that they've punted the ball so far this evening. And John Heflin does all the kicking for Arkansas Pine-Bluff. And he's on to punt it away. McConaughey, the deep man for Alabama A&M, number 21. Heflin as a punter, averaging 38.5 yards per punt. This one a bounce, and will take a Pine-Bluff bounce and be down at the 6-yard line. So 1:11 is the time remaining. This is in the 1st quarter. 7-6 our score.
Charlie, there you have the band, Cam, and it's funny because the band always have their own sayings. Every school you go to, they have their own songs, their own, you know, people just think that the band performs on the field, but they also do a lot of stuff in the stands also to entertain the fans and also to cheer on the team.
And you talk to Coach Jones about this team, and he talks about this team may not be as experienced as a team that won the SWAC championship a year ago, especially the offensive line that was still growing up, but they may be more explosive. And here's Kelsey Luke trying to get out of the pocket, and he's going to be dropped for about a 3-yard loss back to the 3-yard line. Well, I'll tell you, they came, that defense, and they did not allow him to get loose. Here it is.
Yeah, he's dropping back in his own end zone, and you don't mind doing that with an experienced quarterback. But wow, nobody opened down the field. Just a good job by Kenneth Leachman coming up with another sack. He has 6.5 tackles for loss, but he gets to the quarterback on that play.
No question about it, and it's a loss all the way back to the 3-yard line, where it'll be 2nd down and 13 now for Alabama A&M. In motion is Stockdale. And they keep it on the ground, running straight ahead with the running back. And the defense, again, very, very tough for this Arkansas Pine-Bluff team. Here's a team, you know, we talked about all of the negatives as far as what they've done on offense nationally. But defensively, they're ranked 24th in the nation against the run.
Yeah, and that's hard to do when you have an offense that's playing that bad. So that's a very good number for them to have defensively.
And that's going to be the end of the first quarter here in Huntsville, Alabama. We have a 1-point ball game. The visitors from Pine Bluff leading the home team, Alabama A&M, 7-6. Martell Mallett with the 7-yard touchdown run. There it is, and it's accounted for them taking the lead. 7-6 our score here as we start the second quarter in Huntsville, Alabama. 3rd and 12 facing the Bulldogs of Alabama A&M. Stockdale in motion. And there's a quarterback, Kelsey Luke, back to pass. Has it complete on a near sideline. They need 12 yards for a first down. They're going to be way shy as they get the ball complete to Stockdale coming in motion, and it'll bring up a 4th down punting situation. So far tonight, Alabama A&M 1 of 5 in 3rd down conversions. And to bring on the punting unit once again, and that's Rashawn Kyler, who's punted once already today.
Has to be frustrating for this A&M offense because they're averaging over 30 points a game. You get inside the 30-yard line on the short field twice, you can only get 6 points, and now you have 2 possessions where you have to punt.
And here comes the rush. Pretty good kick, and Pine-Bluff fumble. And they're going to get the ball in pretty good field position as Bruce Peters almost had that one, but managed to cover it up. Don't forget, Friday night, ESPNU delivers more college football. Northwestern takes on Eastern Michigan, and it happens at Ford Field in Detroit at 7 p.m. Eastern. It's Friday primetime college football presented by Home Depot right here on ESPNU. For more information, log on to ESPNU.com. Your home for the finest in college sports. And Northwestern quarterback C.J. Boucher having a whale of a ball game, or whale of a year, I should say. The last 2 games, 79, 106, 990 yards, 9 touchdowns, both overtime wins, 990 yards in 2 games.
That's a whole season for some quarterbacks.
That was a career for me. The left-handed quarterback lets it go, and it's almost picked off on the far sideline. Covering downfield is Tucker. There he is, Stephen Tucker, covering Jason Jones, their best receiver. So you've got a pretty good matchup there between Tucker and Jones. Yeah,
that's a real good matchup, but I tell you what, Coach Mo Forte will take that matchup every time because Jason Jones is a big play receiver. This guy knows how to go and get the football. If you play him man coverage too many times, you better be careful because he'll make you pay.
Well, you look at the size. Jason Jones comes in at 6'1", and you look at 5'9", Stephen Tucker, so there's a height advantage there. Let's see what they do. It's 2nd down and 10, 14:06. We just started the second quarter here. From the shotgun, Wallace. And it's a delayed draw play, and they get it to the outside to Mallett. Mallett gets about 6 yards down to the 35-yard line, where it'll be 3rd down and 4. Martell Mallett on the call. Junior out of Pine Bluff, transferred from Bowling Green. That's where he started his college career in 05 and 06. 1,129 yards and 14 touchdowns.
If you look at his running style, the guy just runs with a lot of attitude. He just runs downhill. He's very physical. He doesn't shy away from contact, but he also knows how to make the defenders miss.
When you talk to Mo Forte, he says he reminds him so much of Barry Sanders. Mo was Barry's coach in college. Tripped up from behind. Good defensive play by Carlton Rice, the linebacker, number 32 there, the senior out of Huntsville. He had some big shoes to fill. He transferred from Mississippi State. He's in place of Johnny Baldwin, who's now playing with the Kansas City Chiefs. They had a big win over Cincinnati Sunday. They play at Oakland this Sunday. That is the Chiefs. And there's a bring up a 4th down now. Let's see if they're going to go for it. If they tried to kick a field goal, it would be about a 52-yarder.
Yeah, I like the situation. And if you punt into the end zone, you only gain 15 yards net on the punt. So, hey, you're on the road. You're 1-5. Let's be aggressive. Try something.
And the defense has been playing pretty good. Here's some pressure on the quarterback. A left-hander lets it go. And now they're going to call. There's a flag down, but the flag is thrown by the umpire, not thrown by the side judge on the far side of the field. So we may have holding or an eligible man downfield. That's what it is.
It looked like that could have been pass interference. I don't know if they're saying that that ball was uncatchable.
Well, the 2 people ran into each other. I think they're going to look at it as incidental contact.
An eligible receiver down the field on the white. That penalty declined. That'll be first down.
So they turn it over on downs as you look at Harold Cooper's our referee and Mo Forte. Now let's look at it once again. Well, the defender was playing the ball, and when the receiver turned around, he ran over the defender, so you can't call it pass interference.
Yeah, but the defender can't just stand and impede the progress of the receiver either.
Yeah, but he wasn't. I mean,
it's a tough break for Pine Bluff. That call could have went either way. It was a judgment call.
And we're going to get motion as they got down to the 35-yard line. Turn it over on downs. Harold Cooper.
Dead ball, false start, 66 in the red. It'll be 5-yard penalty, remain first down.
That's Russell Jackson, the redshirt freshman, the guard, one of the youth on that offensive line for Anthony Jones.
Yeah, we talked to Coach Jones about his keys to victory today, and he said we have to stay positive on first down and we can't have penalties, meaning that they always wanted to be ahead of the chain, second and 6, second and 5. So now when you have that penalty on first down, you're at a 1st and 15. That's a huge advantage to the defense when you start off like that.
No question about it. And it is 1st and 15, as you said. And here's Kelsey Luke, has some running room on the left side, being chased, and finally goes down. One of the things, Anton Williams is the man who chased him out of bounds. As Coach Jones says, we only want you to get what you need because we don't really have a real comfortable backup, a person we're comfortable with at that backup position. Not that he can't play if you needed Kevin Atkins to come in, but don't do anything to get yourself hurt.
Well, I mean, you look at Kevin Atkins, he has 2 attempts and no completions. They expect him to be over there signaling in plays to Kelsey Luke, but Kelsey Luke is a guy who had 428 rushing yards and 8 touchdowns last year. Now he only has 100 rushing yards and 1 touchdown, so it's an emphasis on him staying in the game, staying healthy, and being more of a passer. They want him to run, but run smart and just slide and not take those hits like he did last year. Yeah,
5-yard gain on that last run. He takes off again, goes down the sideline, still on his feet, and gets the first down.
But you know, he kind of reminds me of, a guy I played with, Steve McNair with the Titans. It's hard to tell a quarterback like that that's used to being aggressive and turning into a runner when he gets into the open field like, hey, we want you to stay healthy now and slide. I mean, look, no one's open. He's just a runner now. He's just playing football like in the backyard and wants to make a big play. So now you're going to tell me I have to avoid contact and not get the extra 5 yards. It's hard to coach that into a guy when it's instinctive for him to get everything he can out of the play.
15 yards for him on the last 2 plays, and he moves the chains for his team, and they have a first down at the 45-yard line. We're in the second quarter here, 7-6 ball game. Pine Bluff by 1. Back to passes, Luke, this time under a little pressure, and this one is complete on the near sideline, and a penalty flag goes down. We may see face mask as the ball comes loose, and we have a fumble. But let's see what if the whistle had blown before all of this extracurricular activity took place. Harold Cooper's going to sort it out for us. Penalty-wise, Alabama A&M is averaging about 67 yards in penalties per contest, while Pine Bluff is averaging 77 yards.
Well, looks like they're putting the offense on the field, so we'll see.
On the red team, number 80. That penalty is declined. It'll be first down for the white team.
So it was a fumble because we had a penalty for an illegal block in the back on Alabama A&M. There it is right there. The block was levied against John Keith. So the whistle did not blow. So it was a fumble, and Alabama A&M turns it over for the first time tonight. And Pine Bluff gets the ball in great field position at the 40.
Yeah, that's a bad break for A&M because it seemed like his forward progress had stopped. And
that's why I was wondering if there had been a whistle.
But if the whistle hadn't blown, I guess the guys have to keep playing. But Pine Bluff, give them credit for taking advantage of that play.
And Arkansas Pine Bluff with the ball back to the line of scrimmage on the running play, and nothing else doing there as the stop is made.
Yeah, Justin Harper once again he's coming to play, and he came into this game with 7 tackles for loss, leading the team, and that's a big stat. When you can get in there as a defensive lineman and get those guys behind the line of scrimmage, now you have a 2nd and 11 situation. Tough for teams to get back into that first down mode and convert when you get to that 2nd and 11 position.
It's going to be interesting to see if Pine Bluff can move the ball here. This is the 2nd time they've gotten it. Here's a big sack, and it is coming in the form of
Jeremy Maddox,
yes.
54.
The sophomore out of Grand Bay, Alabama.
22 sacks on the year. This A&M team has the Bulldogs, which is first in the conference. And Bronski Towns, the defensive coordinator, has been here forever, and he knows how to dial up blitzes and pressure. And one thing he's going to look at the ebb and flow of this game and say, hey, the offense isn't doing what they usually do, putting up 37 points per game. You know what? We have a pretty good defense, and we're going to make some plays happen and be a little bit more aggressive in my play calling.
3.5 sacks per game for him, and of course that's the 29th time Arkansas Pine-Bluff has been sacked, and the 23rd racked up for Alabama A&M. As the penalty marker goes down, we may have some procedure against Pine-Bluff. And this is the second time, as I was going to say before that last play, that Arkansas Pine-Bluff has gotten the ball down in.
Full start on the white, number 78, 3-5-yard penalty, remain third down.
Inside the 45-yard line of the home team, and last time wound up turning it over on down. So both teams' defenses have risen to the occasion when they've had to.
Well, we know that they have good defense here at Alabama A&M. That's been pretty much their bell mark their whole career. I mean, Coach Jones has always been known to be, hey, I'm going to run the football, good special teams, be physical, and play great defense. This year, it's just they've stepped up, and they also had the big offense to go with that defense.
Here comes the blitz again by Alabama A&M, and they get the screen out to Mallett. Mallett will not get away this time from Avery Molan. Number 55 was right there to make the stop on the very elusive running back.
Did a great job on those third and long situations. Teams like to try to fool you and run those screens, but Avery Molan, this guy's a football player. You watch him, he'll make a lot of plays today from his linebacker position, leads the team with 40 total tackles, just a solid player.
So for the second time today, Pine-Bluff will punt it away. John Heflin is the man who will do the honors. Low snap, picks it up. Good kick is going to be chased down and go into the end zone. This will be a touchback, and it'll be brought out to the 20 with 9:36 remaining. We're in the first half of play here at Cruz Stadium in Huntsville. Seven to 6 is our score. Right here, you saw a shot of Miss Alabama. Brittany Morton, student here at Alabama A&M. Miss Alabama A&M and her court, the senior. Let's go to the studio for an update.
Number 2, South Florida. Still sounds a little bizarre, but not after watching Matt Grothe right here. 2 straight 100-yard rushing performances, and he's off to a hot start. 21 yards for the touchdown. 10-3, Bulls lead Rutgers in the first.
And we're working here where it's 7 to 6 in favor of Alabama. I'll make that Arkansas Pine-Bluff. They led 6-0. That is Alabama A&M. Stockdale, the man in motion. Here's Luke going back to the pass. Throws it complete to Banks out of the backfield, and Banks has a first down out to the 39-yard line. So Ulysses Banks, who came into the game with 13 receptions and a pair of touchdowns. He has 5 rushing touchdowns and 2 on receptions. We're in Huntsville, Alabama, on the campus of Alabama A&M for ESPNU primetime college football, along with Eddie Robinson, Charlie Neal, Arkansas Pine-Bluff in the visiting white jerseys, and the maroon jerseys worn by the home team, Alabama A&M. Some of the crowd on hand here, and a good crowd.
Yeah, a lot of fans. You see Omega Psi Phi, one of the fraternities here on campus.
And you are?
A member of that fraternity.
I figured that. And that's why you had to make sure it was mentioned, as this pass is complete to Charles Moody, the tight end, his 22nd reception of the year. He was a preseason first-team all-conference selection. We're talking about the SWAC rankings and what Alabama A&M has done so far this year.
Yeah, I mean, look at this. I mean, 189 rushing yards per game, of course, with the passing yards and the total yards. But the biggest thing, 37 points per game. But now you're sitting here and you've only been able to kick 2 field goals, and you've been in the red zone twice. So very disappointing start for Coach Jones, especially playing at home. We'll see if they can't get things going in gear the way they've been playing this whole football season.
And we saw them earlier in the season in one of the games here on ESPNU when they played Grambling, and they went into that game averaging 45 points per contest. They only scored 6 against the Tigers. And we'll be back here in Huntsville in a moment. ESPNU College Football, presented by Buffalo Wild Wings, is brought to you by Jack Link's Beef Jerky. Feed your wild side. Under 8 minutes to go here in the first half, and we talked about the fact that they lost their only loss, that is Alabama A&M, was to Grambling. That was on September 22nd, down in Grambling. They only had 30 yards rushing, 170 yards, 75 yards in passing in that ball game. They struggled in that contest, managed to put only 6 points up as Kelsey Luke takes off and runs, still on his feet, and struggles forward and picks up the first down.
So you can tell Kelsey Luke's not a natural slider. He's used to getting as many yards as he can. He doesn't know how to slide. This guy's a competitor, a quarterback, and wants to also be a very aggressive runner.
And we're talking about that Grambling game once again, just 30 yards running. They were sacked 3 times in that game, and their punter punted 9 times. They gave up 378 yards to the Grambling Tigers. As you look at Kelsey Luke take off, 16 touchdowns passing this year. He's only rushed for 1 so far this season.
And that Grambling game was the only game that he hasn't passed for at least 2 touchdowns, just to show you how off they were in that game.
They certainly were. He led his team to 7 wins as a freshman and has 9 in each of the last 2 seasons. In a little trouble right now, dancing in the backfield and trying to turn the corner. Does turn the corner and runs out of bounds in front of his own bench. Well, he made something out of nothing that time and gained about 9 yards. Believe it or not, he must have ran about 40 to get those 9.
At least 40, but you could tell, I mean, this guy's elusive. I mean, he's a runner. I mean, he's a very good runner, and he's developed into a good passer over the years, getting better and better directing traffic, realizing that I can turn the corner with my speed. Hey, get out of bounds and don't take any hits.
Had a chance to visit with his brother, Nick Luke, who this morning, who has a job working in the same hotel as assistant front office manager as we are staying here in Huntsville. And more importantly, he would like to get into coaching, he said.
Yeah, and I told him, I said, that's a great profession. He would be good at it. I mean, you could tell 2 really, really well-mannered kids.
Had a great story as we see the Ulysses Banks hurdles, still on his feet inside the 20. It'll be 1st and 10, Alabama A&M.
And that's the play that Nick Luke was telling us about earlier today. He said they call that 80 draw. And what it is like a fake sprint out by the quarterback, and he gives like an underneath handoff to Ulysses Banks. See how he makes it look like he's going that way, and then he just cuts back. And he looks for that cutback, and once he gets downfield, I mean, hey, he can really make people miss.
He certainly does make people miss. Finally brought down by Kevin Thornton, the nickelback there.
Wow, hurling players and everything. I mean, Ulysses Banks, man, this guy has a lot of speed. We saw him last year as a kickoff return guy, and he made people miss, and he can also do it from the backfield.
Stockdale in motion. Here's Luke, want to go to the air. Reversing back to the near side, being chased, gets away, now throws, and it's incomplete. Trying to get it to Thomas Harris. But under a little pressure in the backfield, it'll bring up 2nd down and 10. The ball at the 23-yard line.
And Coach Jones, when he talked about Kelsey Luke, one thing he did point out, the guy's in great shape. He leads the team when they're running sprints and everything else. I don't expect him to get tired, but just a great kid. I mean, just a well-mannerable kid, kind of quiet, but is also the leader. He's one of those guys, when he talks, the whole team knows, hey, wow, Kelsey is saying something. We better pay attention and listen to him, because he really has control of this offense and this team.
No question. They call him the E.F. Hutton of Alabama A&M. Yeah, he lost to Nick Luke from a year ago. Kevin Francis, Tamar Scott, a running back who scored two touchdowns in the SWAC championship game. Here's Ulysses Banks, and it's all the way down to the 5-yard line where it'll be 1st and goal. And so this is a pretty good drive that started at their own 20-yard line for Alabama A&M. First sustained drive, and the 8th play of the drive coming up.
Yeah, hey, getting back to basics. Hey, things aren't working in the passing game. Let's just be physical. We know that we're a ground-them-out team that can run downhill between the tackles. We have a running back, Ulysses Banks, averaging close to 100 yards a game. Hey, let's just be physical, make the game basic, and try to get a score.
Make this the 9th play of this drive. They've used up pretty good time off the clock, about 3.5 minutes so far. Stockdale again in motion. And here's a handoff to Anthony Green going left. And Anthony Green is stopped at the 1-yard line. This freshman from San Antonio's Madison High trying to get into the end zone for his 4th touchdown of the year, but is going to be denied as he stopped at the 1.
It seems like A&M always has 2 good running backs. Of course, last year they had Nick Luke and also Tamar Scott, who really combined to wear down defenses. Now you have Ulysses Banks and Anthony Green, and both of those guys can really wear down a defense when you combine their runs together.
McWhorter, this up back, and here's the fumble at the goal line, and a flag is down and is picked up by Arkansas Pine-Bluff. But let's see what the penalty mark is all about. But he was really popped at his Ulysses Banks at the goal line, and the ball picked up by Tim Turner there, number 39, the preseason first-team all-conference selection. Face mask is the call against Pine-Bluff, so not a break for them. And
face mask on number 7 in the white before the fumble, half the distance to the goal line.
Wow. That's a huge break for Alabama A&M. Keep in mind that this team is 92% in red zone efficiency. They just don't make these type of mistakes. But, I mean, this is something that was brought on by the hit by Pine-Bluff. There goes the face mask right there. But that's the hit that caused that fumble.
That was a great hit.
Yeah, the face mask didn't cause the fumble. It was the hit that the hat is right on the ball, and the ball came out.
And they keep it on the ground, trying to run it, and still haven't been able to break the plane to the goal line. That play went half the distance, and they were already at the 1. You couldn't get much closer, could they?
Give Pine-Bluff defense a lot of credit. I mean, these guys have come out to play. I mean, the problem with Pine-Bluff is that the offense hasn't been very effective this year, and defensively they get worn down as the game goes on. But you keep them fresh and have a couple of good offensive possessions, they can play some very good defense.
2nd down and goal. Kelsey Luke. Make it 3rd down and goal.
Look for him to maybe run the quarterback sneak, do it himself.
And he's got room over there. Now he's going to throw it, and it's incomplete. The tight end Moody, the intended receiver, he just couldn't get to it. Covered over there by Kevin Thornton, the man who was guilty of the face mask infraction.
And the thing with this one, I think when Kelsey Luke looks at this tomorrow, maybe he had a chance to run this thing in for a score. There's nobody out there. It's just him and the pylon.
Right.
And he's the fastest guy on the football field right there. And instead, you throw a pass and you have Charles Moody trying to make an acrobatic catch.
They're going to go for it on 4th down. The crowd loves it. Anthony Jones pulling out all the stops here. They're down by 1. This would give them a big lead. Here we go. We got to walk into the end zone with Anthony Green scoring his 4th touchdown of the season.
A&M really dodges the bullet because keep in mind there was a fumble on that play by Ulysses Banks that was negated by the penalty by Arkansas Pine-Bluff. Kelsey Luke overthrows the tight end when he could have ran into the end zone, but they still come back on the gutsy 4th down play by Coach Jones to get the touchdown.
4:35 remaining here in the first half. They're going to go for the 2-point conversion now. Stockdale, the man in motion. They're going to go to Stockdale, but now rather it didn't go to Stockdale, but we got a flag down. They get it complete to John Smith, the tight end, the senior. Let's see what the penalty is all about. I think they had too many men on the field. And that might have been against, let's see who's against. It may have been against Alabama A&M. You had 2 tight ends in the ball game. Of course, you would refuse that. And, I mean, take the penalty because that would wipe off the 2-point conversion.
At this point of the year, it's no excuse for those type of plays. I mean, Coach Jones very upset because of that call.
On the white team, 12 men participated in the play. They want to replay it down 15 yards and replay the try.
You agree with that?
Well, he said on the white team.
No, it was on. No, it's 15-yard penalty. It was on the
Alabama A&M.
Alabama A&M, but I'm just, well, why would you let them replay the try?
Well, it'd be a very long extra point kick at this point.
Well, that's what it's going to be. But why would you even let them try anything? You see what I'm saying?
Well, I guess you had to take the penalty in order to get the conversion off of the board.
Yeah, makes sense.
Right.
So it'll be a 35-yard extra point. That's what it turns out to be for Kyler or for Lycia. And it's not going to get there. But it's picked up. No, they say, well, I tell you, they got all kinds of hijinks going on here, don't they? That was run in by Rashawn Kyler, the kicker.
Yeah, but you can't advance it once it's blocked, unless the defense would have touched it first.
Right.
The play is pretty much dead. But it was exciting.
Well, at least he tried. He said, what do I have to lose? I mean, I may get lucky, and officials may decide to give me 2 points for it.
That's it.
Let's look at it once again. 4:35 to go. 12-7 ball game. Here it is. The kick is way off the mark. Picked up by Kyler. He tries to run it in, but the refs say no way.
That's all coming up at the half.
All right, Lowell, thank you. Mike Teal having a pretty good year. 13 touchdowns passing already, over 2,000 yards. And Tyquan Underwood, his favorite receiver, was ranked 12th in receiving yards in the nation, coming up with a touchdown reception. I think it's his 5th touchdown reception this year. And right now we have a 12-7 ball game here. This one's squib kick on the ground. Somebody needs to pick it up for Pine-Bluff because it got all the way down to the 30, and they finally just dove on it out down there, because here comes Alabama A&M's rushing down the field to try to fall on that ball.
We'll see what Pine-Bluff offense has in store now, but keep in mind all of the different parameters that have this game, like the setup game for Alabama A&M. Of course, they have their huge game next weekend against Alabama State in the Magic City Classic, and that's something that the players look forward to all year long. Then you're playing a team that's 1-5, that you beat in the championship game last year, so you're like, hey, we can handle these guys. So it's kind of understandable why they've come out here just a little bit sluggish on offense, not getting things going, but we'll see if they can take control of this football game playing at home.
Their own 30-yard line for Pine-Bluff. Here's a pass, and this one hits the defender in the back and goes out of bounds, intended on the far sideline for Ryan Watley. And let's look at the SWAC standings. You have 2 divisions in the East. Alabama A&M 3-1, 5-1 overall. Jackson State is sitting at home waiting Grambling on Saturday and rooting for Arkansas Pine-Bluff, because that would give Alabama A&M 2 wins, and they still have to play a week after Alabama A&M plays Alabama State. And of course, Alabama State 3-3. You look at Alcorn and then Valley, and in the West, Grambling on top. They're still unbeaten. That's a big game on Saturday down in Jackson between 2 unbeaten conference opponents. It is 2nd down. Slow snap out in the flat, incomplete. This one trying to get it to Raymond Weber.
You look at those SWAC standings, Charlie, things are really starting to heat up. I mean, the good teams are starting to separate the teams that aren't so good. And of course, you have the Jackson States, the Alabama A&Ms, and the Grambling States who are playing extremely well. So in Southern University, they've had a couple losses lately, but they started off the season in 5-0. So it's interesting to see how teams are kind of developing as their personalities start to be defined.
When you look at this Alabama A&M team, here's a team that had the weekend off last week after their win over Southern, beating Southern down in Baton Rouge at Southern's homecoming this 2 weeks ago, and they had a short week to get ready. That is Arkansas Pine-Bluff, but a little more time given to Alabama A&M. Here's Wallace's pass, incomplete. Up the middle of the field, good stick by the defensive back down there.
It looked like we have
Donaldson.
Yeah, we have a late play around the quarterback. It looked like it may be a late hit on the quarterback or something by Alabama A&M.
Well, let's see. Here's Hal Cooper to sort it out for us.
Yeah, it was well after he threw the football, so.
Roughing the passes, what the call is, and that's going to move the chains and give Arkansas Pine-Bluff new life.
Wait a second. Roughing the quarterback, charge to the defense, number 58. It'll be 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
That's Chris Traylor. And this is not a good roughing the quarterback on the part of Chris Traylor. Let's watch it. I mean, the ball's away. Oh, yeah. I mean, the ball is gone. I mean, come on.
Yeah, that's like WWF wrestling. Yeah. It almost reminds you of the hit that was done on the quarterback for Green Bay with Mikowski that time, which was an unfortunate play in the NFL like 10, 15 years ago.
Martell Mallett, and we got a flag down as he gets the carry but doesn't get anywhere, as Carlton Rice is there to make sure he doesn't get untracked. We're going to get a holding penalty against Pine Bluff. Penalties starting to mount up on both sides of the ball. A&M has been penalized 5 times.
Number 77 in the white. It'll be 10-yard penalty from the previous spot. Replay first down.
Kapua Iai, there he is from Paluna Kona, Hawaii.
Keep in mind, these teams know each other extremely well. They played twice last year. Of course, Arkansas Pine Bluff won the regular season meeting, but then A&M came back and won the championship game. So they know each other fairly well. And it's a lot of members that are back from both of these teams. So it's some bad blood out there. You want to win this football game, regardless of what side of the field you're on.
Well, you remember the loss in the championship game, and that's important. And this one goes incomplete down the field. Of course, Jason Jones, again, is intended receiver.
But they're a big play offense. I mean, last year they were a big play offense. Let's say that. I mean, and they live by those big plays. So Pine Bluff will not get discouraged by going deep and not completing those passes. They know that if they take more shots to Jason Jones and the other receivers, eventually they feel like they'll complete one of those. And it only takes one completion to get a touchdown. You can throw 5 incompletions, but that one good one is going to be 7 points on the board.
He had a big pass play to Jason Jones a week ago against Grambling. Covered 63 yards, but was called back because they said it was illegal procedure against Pine Bluff. It was second down and 20.
That was a go-ahead score with a minute left in the game.
It certainly was. Chris Wallace under pressure, throws, has it complete for a first down, or about, no, he's not going to have the first down. It's going to be about 3 yards shy of a first down because they marked the forward progress back at midfield. But good job of working back to the ball by Jason Jones.
It just gets into an open spot. The corner comes up. He just settles down right into the zone, overneath the corner's head before the safety. Quarterback does a great job of delivering the football.
So it'll bring up a 3rd and 5. They gain 15 on that pass play to Jason Jones. Jason Jones with his 3rd reception of the evening to 39 yards. Came in averaging 15.5 yards per reception. Pressure and sack for the 2nd time this evening. Here we go. And coming up with the sack again is Jeremy Maddox. But we have a penalty marker down. Let's see what this one's about. Look at number 54.
Man, just great get off on the football. I mean, that's just the guy that's just faster than an offensive lineman.
Jason Thomas didn't have a chance against him on the offensive line.
Holding on the white team. Number 69. That penalty is declined. It'll be 4th down.
Not only did he get beat, he got caught holding.
And one thing you have to realize, I mean, Coach Bronski Towns, when he recruits players, he says the big, fast, strong players, we can't get those guys. We can get the little, fast, strong players. So you have guys like a Jeremy Maddox, who's not very big, but extremely fast. And keep in mind, you have Robert Mathis, the star with the Indianapolis Colts, also came from this program, and he was in that same mode, a speed rusher around the end.
Frank Moore returning this punt for Alabama A&M from the 14-yard line. Flags are down, and this will be brought back because it looks like it's going to be holding after a good return, though, all the way up to the 41-yard line of Arkansas Pine Bluff. There he is, Frank Moore, Jr. out of Gadsden, Alabama, averaged 9.6 yards per punt return.
Yeah, and A&M, they're just making some uncharacteristic mistakes. And Coach Jones, I mean, this team has always played with a lot of discipline. They were never a highly penalized team. So, I mean, it's something that he's going to correct, I'm sure, at halftime, because that's not what they're about. They don't play like this. They don't make those type of roughing the passer plays and blocking the backs, things that are very obvious for the referee to call. So they just have to cut down the mistakes and just relax and go out and play football like you've been doing all year long.
So that'll be brought back after the illegal blocking penalties against Alabama A&M. As you look at Anthony Jones, played on the Washington Redskins Super Bowl team when Doug Williams was the quarterback there. Played under
in the back on the return team. It'll be 10 yards, half the distance to the goal line, which is 10-yard penalty from the spot of the foul. It'll be 1st down.
Played at Wichita State under Willie Jeffries. Has done a fantastic job here. He was the SIAC Coach of the Year. He coached there. So far, far in this ball game, over 100 yards and penalties for Alabama A&M this evening. 6 penalties, 100 yards.
And that's something that really upsets the coach, because that's not what they're about. They're not a team that over the years have been a highly penalized team. They've always played a real good discipline and organized style of football. So Coach Jones, he had to get his guys under control and just let them go out there and relax and have fun and play a football game.
So this drive starts at their own 7, 2:41 remaining in the half. Flat pass out to Ulysses Banks, and Ulysses takes it out to about the 13, 14-yard line. A gain of 7, second down and 3. Clock continuing to run. 2 timeouts remaining for Alabama A&M. Pine-Bluff has all 3 of theirs remaining. It'll be second down. Here's one out in the flat on the other side, and they're not going to call it a lateral. They're going to call it a forward pass, so it goes incomplete. Intended for Gerald Stockdale, the senior out of Talladega, Alabama, who finally got into the end zone this year. He also has thrown a couple passes this season. He's completed 2 of 2 attempts and had a 55-yard touchdown to Thomas Harris, and that was against Southern University.
Yeah, the kid can do a whole lot, but
yeah,
we talked to him yesterday, like, man, how did that first touchdown feel?
He finally got
been around here 4 years.
He was so happy. This one's incomplete. Didn't hold it long enough. Otherwise, it was very close to being a completion and a fumble. And here's Gerald Stockdale, the young man we were just talking about. And that'll bring up a punting situation. So still some time for Pine-Bluff to get something going with 2:05 to go and all 3 of their timeouts remaining.
And you have to be careful, because when you throw those incomplete passes, of course, Kelsey Luke was a victim of 2 drops. But now, Coach Jones realizes now you have to play 2-minute defense. You're in a situation where you could have controlled the ball for the rest of the half, but now you have to give Arkansas Pine-Bluff team another chance to put points on the board, so your defense has to stand up once again.
No question. This will bring on the punter, Kyler. Field it right at about the 46-yard line. So a short field for Arkansas Pine-Bluff. Don't forget, log on to your online source for all things college sports. It's ESPNU.com. The online service is a gateway to all college sports content from ESPN. Tons of exclusive material, including news, highlights, podcasts, live streaming games, and more. Log on to ESPNU.com today, because we are college sports. And if you don't have ESPNU, just log on to ESPNU.com. Type in your zip code at the top of the page, or call your local cable operator or satellite provider. Under 2 minutes to go here in the first half, along with Eddie Robinson, Charlie Neal, and Arkansas Pine-Bluff with the ball in pretty good field position at the A&M 46-yard line. Wallace rolling right, throws, and has it incomplete on the far sideline.
Both teams can't catch the football anymore. Yeah. Going into the second quarter, we've seen 3 drops in a row, and this is a guy, Jason Jones, he doesn't usually drop any passes.
You talk about some of the top receivers other than Jason Jones in the SWAC. You have a young man named Gerald Landry down at Southern University, who came into this weekend about 34 catches, and then Reggie Jackson over at Grambling. We'll get a chance to see him on Saturday. He has 39 catches, and Jason Jones coming in with 28, and so far 3 tonight, so he's up to 31 catches so far this season.
Yeah, don't forget about old Clyde Edwards at Grambling State also. He's another good one.
Under pressure, here comes Wallace out of the pack, runs out of bounds. The clock stops. They move the chains, get the first down inside the 35 to the 34 with 1:41 to go.
I tell you what, Wallace is a brave man, because he stood in that pocket a whole lot longer than I look. 1,001, 1,002. I mean, you get to 5 seconds and you're a quarterback, you better do something.
And the pocket's collapsing.
It's collapsing. So I give him a lot of credit for standing there and showing some toughness, because you don't know where the hit is going to come from, but you know after 5 seconds you're probably going to get hit. You keep standing in that pocket.
Of course, this young man was the preseason pick to be the player of the year in the conference. First team all preseason selection at quarterback. Brandon Landers from Grambling was second in that category. Lets it go, and it's going to be incomplete. Jason Jones frustrated downfield.
Just give me a chance. Just give me a chance. Keep it in bounds. Because, I mean, this kid, I mean, single coverage or double coverage, you'd like to throw it to him because he can go up and make a play. And they've been to him 4 times deep already. He hasn't caught one, but they know they're playing a law of percentages. We keep throwing deep to Jason Jones. Sooner or later, he's going to make a spectacular catch.
No question. Second down, 10, though. Minute 35 to go. Still plenty of time for Arkansas Pine-Bluff. No rush. No panic, and they still have 3 timeouts remaining. Chris Wallace came into the game just throwing 2 touchdown passes. Had not thrown an interception this year. And this one is off the hands of Lance Lemons. Incomplete.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to have to make a suggestion to the quarterback, Wallace. Maybe change the snap count to 2 or 3 because he keeps going on 1. And if you look at the get-off that the Alabama A&M defensive line is getting, I mean, the tackles don't have a chance to even set. I mean, they're coming around the corner so fast, he has to step up in the pocket or throw the football because they're having a great job of rushing the passer by Alabama A&M.
And I said he hadn't thrown an interception coming into this game. Until this game, he threw one the first pass he threw. The first play of the game, he threw an interception. But, you know, when you look at interception ratio, this team has only thrown 3 interceptions all season long with the number of passes that they've thrown. 197. In trouble. And he's going to be sacked. And there's the 3rd sack of the day by Alabama A&M. This time is Chris Traylor coming up with the sack. He came into the contest with 3 sacks. A minute 15 to go.
Wow, look at the speed coming around the corner. There you have those undersized defensive ends. I mean, Chris Traylor is only 5'10", maybe 220, 230 pounds, but he has 29.5 career sacks. You add that one, that's 30.5. So this is a guy who can get to the quarterback. His sacks numbers are down a little bit this year just because teams know about him and they know the speed that he has. He's not a situational rusher. He's an every down player. But they have some guys, Christopher Traylor and also Jeremy Maddox, who can really get to the quarterback in passing situations.
Well, you're talking about the team getting better, and you saw them sack, and that was one of the issues that Mo Forte was concerned about coming into this contest. In the first 2 losses of the game, of the season rather, they had just 482 yards and 16 penalties, 4 turnovers, and 7 sacks. In the last 2 losses, 656 yards, 17 penalties, 2 turnovers, and 7 sacks. Now, they've been sacked 3 times so far today, and they've turned the ball over twice.
And that's what you can't have. I mean, and it's a direct correlation because the guy who can fumble the ball the most is the quarterback. If you're getting sacked a lot, sooner or later the ball's going to get knocked out of his hand. You're going to create a turnover.
Punting situation. And this one will go into the end zone with 1 minute and 7 seconds to go. It'll be brought out to the 20-yard line. So still some time for Kelsey Luke and company to try to do something. They have 1 timeout remaining. And let's see if they can move the football. They've only had 1 sustained drive. They've had a pair of field goals after creating a couple of turnovers. They were only able to convert field goals, and then they had a 12-play, 80-yard drive that used 5 minutes off the clock.
Yeah, but Kelsey Luke is a very patient and mature quarterback, 5th-year senior. I mean, he understands the whole concept of the game. Just because you scored 12 points in the first half, it doesn't mean that you can't have a big second half. So you just be patient. You take what the defense is giving you. He's still distributing the ball well, so he's going to make the right decision with the football.
In fact, the second quarter has not been a better quarter for Alabama A&M this year. They've only scored 34 points in 6 games this year in the second quarter.
You know, when they come out, they script their first 12 to 15 plays. And talking to Coach Jones yesterday, and after that, you kind of see what's successful and what's going on. But Coach Jones calls most of the plays from the field and gets the feel from the people in the booth, Coach Totten and Coach Pearl. But I mean, hey, 37 points a game, averaging first in the conference, doing a pretty good job this year.
Kelsey Luke going to the air, throws it, and this one's incomplete. This came close to maybe being picked off by Tim Turner, the linebacker out of Little Rock, Arkansas. Yeah, you're talking about, go ahead.
Yeah, and Pine-Bluff is just playing a real deep zone. They're just going to force Kelsey Luke to take the underneath throws. And it's this situation, and I always go back to Brett Favre. He says in a 2-minute situation, he tries to get first downs. Don't try to score a touchdown. Just keep getting first downs, and when you get close enough, then you try to score a touchdown. You have to have that patience.
Dink them down the field, right?
Yeah, you still have time. You have, you know, the 44 seconds left. You have your timeouts, and of course in college, the clock's going to stop when you get the first down.
So it is 2nd down and 10, and more importantly, only 44 seconds remaining in the half. Ball at their own 32. Kelsey Luke in trouble, dances out of trouble, gets to the sideline, and runs out of bounds. The clock is stopped with 36 seconds to go. And you talked about to Anthony Jones and the fact that, you know, in the past they have been one of these teams that grounded out. He said if there's a strength of this team this year, it's got to be the offense. For the first time in 6 years, he finds this offense to be the strength of the team.
Yeah, I mean, look at him scoring 37 points per game, and a lot of that has to start with Kelsey Luke. I mean, there's a guy who wasn't preseason all-conference, wasn't preseason, picked for player of the year, those type of things. But hey, 16 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, number 1 rated quarterback in the conference. When you have a 5th-year senior like that, it just gives you a lot of pleasure to do a lot of different things on offense that you can't do with a young quarterback.
3rd down now, 9, but more importantly, a long way from the end zone as they keep it on the ground. And I think they're just going to be content to run out the clock here and go into the halftime leading by 5 points with 25 seconds remaining in the half. That was probably going to be the last play of the half. They probably will not run another play before halftime. So as they get ready to go into the locker room, it's a 12. Pine-Bluff decided to call a timeout. That's interesting. 18 seconds to go.
Wait, the special teams game is something that's always tricky. Now, Pine-Bluff has blocked 5 kicks this year so far. So wait, why not make them punt the football? You never know what could happen. You can block it, you can return it. One more play of football, I would give it a chance too.
Well, they're going to come back out on the field, and like you said, Mo Forte, they called the timeout. This is a team that joined the SWAC, Arkansas Pine-Bluff, in 1997. Alabama A&M came in 1998. The last 2 teams to join the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and the 2 teams that were in the championship game a year ago.
Yeah, and Coach Jones at A&M, he just has this program really running along smooth. They had been in that championship game for a number of years and couldn't win. And then finally, the 3rd time, they were able to win it and beat Well, the 4th time, they were able to beat Pine-Bluff and get the victory.
Yeah, they lost it 3 times to Grambling in 2000, 2002, and 2005. And here's a return down the sideline, as you said. Very smart move as 6 seconds to go, and the clock stops with 4 seconds to go. And again, the ball is spotted at about the 42-yard line.
Yeah, that's why you call the timeout. Now you have a good return on your punt return, so you have your big play receiver in Jason Jones. Let's try to throw a Hail Mary play. You never know. You may get lucky and get your cheap score before the half.
They won't call it cheap.
Hey, they all count. When you're only averaging 14 points a game and you're used to averaging 27 points a game the year before, you take points however you can get them.
That's right. We won't call them cheap. They're very expensive at this point. Right?
Very precious.
So it'll be the last play of the half. 12-7. Arkansas Pine-Bluff has it at the 42-yard line of Alabama A&M.
You have to block the defensive ends in this situation.
Almost picked off by Mr. Maddox, who's been playing a whale of a ball game on the defensive side of the ball.
I think after that play, Coach Forte will say, hey, let's just take this 12-7 deficit and work on the 3rd quarter.
It's a 5-point game here at halftime, and it's Alabama A&M, the home team. 12-7 over Pine-Bluff. It's Cruz Stadium. Let us head back to Lowell Galindo for SportsCenter U halftime report.
All right, guys. It's the marching maroon and white for Alabama A&M. How about the tuba performance in this halftime show, Dewey?
Well, this is one of the most explosive tuba performance I have ever seen. This kid has got to be ranked #1 in tuba explosiveness. Mark it down.
He's good, but the B flat is a little off right now.
Yeah, I could tell. Just a tad bit, but nonetheless, still solid.
It's now time, and let's take a look.
12-7 our halftime score. Alabama A&M with the 5-point advantage over Arkansas Pine-Bluff in this SWAC matchup from Lewis Cruz Stadium in Huntsville, Alabama, along with Eddie Robinson, Charlie Neal. And this game started out, it looks like it was going to be a disaster for both of these teams for a while there, especially for Arkansas Pine-Bluff. They came in needing a victory because they needed to get out of the doldrums. And the first play of the ball game, they throw an interception.
Yeah, interception, then they follow that up with a fumble. So their first 3 plays, they had 2 turnovers. What a terrible start. But give credit to the defense. There's one interception that was just a bad overthrow, and you come back and you try to give a handoff to Martell Mallett, and you just try to toss it to him. And of course, that doesn't work. Alabama A&M recovers once again, but the Bulldogs could only muster 6 points out of those 2 turnovers. Here, uncharacteristic fumble by Alabama and A&M, only their second fumble of the whole year. And then you come back with Martell Mallett, just a hard run in here, getting the touchdown. And so they go up 7-6, but hey, come back with another touchdown by Alabama A&M, Anthony Green, and they go up 12-7 at the half. And look at the stats. You can tell the 2 turnovers were the big deal, but A&M not putting up the big points like they have. They've been averaging 37 points per game.
And you look at the total yards in terms of the 2 teams, of course, it's pretty much even. But the penalty situation, that's what's hurt Alabama A&M mostly in this game. 6 times they've been penalized for 100 yards.
Yeah, because those penalties have been in crucial situations. You're talking about, personal fouls to convert drives when you stop them on 3rd down. And those are things that Coach Jones' coach teams usually don't do. So that's something I'm sure that he'll correct coming into this second half, because penalties is just not something that's part of Alabama A&M football. And
Alabama A&M will get the ball to start the second half. Come down the far sideline at the 10-yard line. And the return by Quentin Carlock on the return for Alabama A&M, and they'll get the ball first down and 10, just shy of the 30. They'll mark it at the 29. We're just getting started here in the second half at Louis Cruz Stadium. Louis Cruz, who was a football coach here at Alabama A&M for many years, from 1960 to 75. In fact, he took his team to an 8-0 record in 63 and 8-1 in 61 in the stadium. A gorgeous stadium, seats about 22,000 patrons here on the campus. One of the nicer and best stadiums you'll find in all of the championship subdivision. As Kelsey Luke throws it, and it goes incomplete. And we've had a number of drops by receivers for Kelsey Luke today. Thomas Harris couldn't hold on to that one.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that you have to correct. I mean, Kelsey Luke has been efficient with the football, but the guys just aren't making the catches. And what they're really relying on now, I mean, they have a lot more speed on the edges than they've had in the past at Alabama A&M. So now he can complete 5-yard, 10-yard passes, and they have confidence that the receivers can make big runs after the catch. And they haven't had that in the past. It's been more of a run hard. The guy catch the ball, maybe get 5 yards. So they're not making those catches where they can get that run after catch.
Ulysses Banks, the lone setback. Stockdale is the man in motion now for A&M. Luke going to the air. Lets it fly. And this one is incomplete. Trying to get to Charles Moody, and the defense stiffened. Tim Turner, the linebacker covering the tight end, did a good job of stripping Mr. Moody of the ball.
Yeah, the ball was just thrown a little bit behind Mr. Moody there, Charles Moody. You can tell the defender almost had a chance to pick that off, but Moody coming into the game with 21 receptions and 2 touchdowns, second on the team in receptions. And the second string tight end also has 12 receptions and 2 touchdowns. So I don't know if that's a product of Coach Jones being a former tight end. He puts in those plays where you throw to the tight end a lot.
3rd down now for A&M. 3rd and 10. Luke trying to roll to the left, had some room out there, and has it complete right in front of the A&M bench, and it's Stockdale on the reception, and it's enough for the first down. They move the chains forward, so they convert a 3rd down situation. That is only the second 3rd down converted today by Alabama A&M. They've won 9 of their last 10 games here at home at Louis Cruz Stadium. A win gives them their 6th straight winning season. And Ulysses Banks hitting the backfield and dropped for no gain, maybe a loss of a half a yard.
You know, and Ulysses Banks isn't a very big guy, but they try to monitor his carries, because you do have a good runner in Anthony Green, though, a freshman who's the backup. He has 3 touchdowns for the year also, but they try to give him some carries, and they also try to take him out. So you see these guys rotate as we have an injured Pine-Bluff player on the field.
Well, you're talking about the scheduling going forward and how important these games are for both of these teams, especially Alabama A&M. Next Saturday, they'll be in Birmingham, Alabama for the Magic City Classic when they take on Alabama State. Then they come home to face Jackson State. Jackson State rooting for Arkansas Pine-Bluff tonight. And then they'll close out the season on the road at Alcorn and against Prairie View. Well, you look at this Arkansas Pine-Bluff team, they've only played one home game all season long. You know, and they've been on the road for quite a while. They'll play at Jackson State next, and then at Prairie View. Then they'll go home and play Southern for homecoming and close out the season at Texas Southern. This is the first of 3 road games in a row. And I call it a road game because even Grambling, even though it was played in Little Rock, it was on a neutral turf. They were not at home and couldn't sleep in their own beds. Huh?
Yeah, that's tough. When you have 3 games like that, you can't really feed off of that hometown crowd.
Pressure on Luke. He steps up into the pocket, and this one is incomplete. Thomas Harris, the intended receiver that time. And let's look at Pine Bluff. 7 road games, 3 home games, 1 neutral site. And their last time that they played at home was September 15th. Their next game won't be until November. And that's, I believe, against Prairie View.
And you have a revamped Prairie View Panther team, and those guys are playing good football down there, so that would be a tough home game also for Pine Bluff.
One of the things you talked to Mo Forte, he said he was concerned about his defense at the beginning of the season, but they played well. And they played well here tonight. Here's Luke throwing upstairs for Stockdale, and this goes incomplete.
Well, you have
Webster had a better shot at it than Stockdale.
Yeah, you have 2 teams that are kind of the opposites of what they were last year. I mean, Pine Bluff was a big offensive powerhouse, scoring a lot of points, averaging 28 points a game, and the defense couldn't really stop anyone. Well, now it's the exact opposite. You're playing great defense, can't score points. And on the opposite side, A&M had played great defense last year. The offense was very efficient, but they weren't scoring a lot of points. Now they're scoring a whole lot of points, and their defense, you know, doesn't have the pressure to win a football game 12-7 or 10-3 like they did last year.
This one came close to being blocked that time. And it takes an A&M bounce and will die at about the 7-yard line. So that's where Pine Bluff will go to work when they get the ball for the first time here in the second half. 13:59 the time remaining, and we're in the 3rd quarter. ESPN 12-7 the score here. Alabama A&M with a 5-point advantage over Arkansas Pine Bluff, who has the ball at their own 7-yard line. First down and 10 and nothing going. That time is the defense very tough, as Martell Mallett got the call and actually will lose yards, about 3 to be exact, back to the 4.
You have to be careful in this situation because Alabama A&M likes to send those blitzes, and they'll blitz on rundowns. They've been getting a lot of penetration. They have a number of guys on that team that can get tackles for loss. So if you're not smart with the football, you can be in a situation where you give up a safety or possibly a fumble deep in your own territory.
Yeah, Alabama A&M started the season off with a win over Tennessee State, where they scored 21 points in the 4th quarter. Luke ran 261 yards and 3 touchdowns passing. And then they beat Clark Atlanta 41-10. Luke had 4 touchdowns passing in that game. Here's a safety.
Watch out.
And we're going to get a safety in the end zone. We're going to get intentional grounding against Chris Wallace. As you saw, the pressure coming from Whitney Garrett, number 91 there, the junior from Talladega, Alabama. And he comes up with a big sack. And it's going to be a safety against Arkansas Pine Bluff. So 2 more points. The ones that they missed on the 2-point conversion, they go up on the board, and it's a 14-7 ball game. Let's look at it once again. Here comes the pressure from Whitney Garrett, number 91. And intentional grounding, 2 points. And it's a 14-7 A&M lead.
Pepperdine. We had a good draft that year.
We're here in the 3rd quarter. 13:08 the time remaining, and you see those photos. Well, that number 22, you'll never see worn on an Alabama A&M player once again, because that belongs to the man in the middle here, John Stallworth, a Pro Football Hall of Famer who played his college ball right here on this campus at Alabama A&M, and of course went on to great things with the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's good to have you here.
Good to be here. Good to be here.
Well, John, I will tell you, 74. Let's go back to your years here. You left here in 74. What your fondest memories of playing at Alabama A&M?
A lot of big games. The uniqueness of black college football, it's like nothing else. We had a big game every year with Alabama State down in Birmingham, the Magic City Classic.
Which is still going on.
Still going on, and we had a great time with that, but a lot of fun. I sort of came into my own year. I was a running back coming out of high school, got a chance to be a receiver.
Well, you know, you're talking about as Alabama A&M will get the ball in pretty good field position at the 46-yard line. You're talking about the career you had. You grew up in Tuscaloosa. And how you got out of Tuscaloosa, I'll never know, because you've got another school, HBCU, down there, plus Alabama.
Down in there, different times, a skinny kid playing running back, and on a very poor team coming out of high school, but was fortunate enough to come here. You know, looking back on it, I wouldn't change a thing. Had four of the greatest years of my life here at Alabama A&M University. Would not change a thing.
And Eddie, of course, he knows all about playing in the SWAC, and of course, you all went in the SWAC at that particular time. Alabama A&M was in the SIAC. As we get in the round to the near side, Harris takes it out of bounds, and it gets a first down all the way inside the 40 to about the 38-yard line.
Well, the Bulldogs need some more big plays out of their offense. It seems to be sputtering, making a mistake here and there, shuts them down. If they can get some consistency.
Are you coaching on the sideline there?
I'm not in the booth, maybe a little bit.
Well, you know, John, of course, I played my college career at Alabama State, so we were always on the opposite side of that Magic City Classic. And I got drafted by the Houston all of a sudden. I grew up not liking the Pittsburgh Steelers, man, so I don't know how long you and better stay in here with us.
Some very good friends of mine played with the Oilers during those times, but some good years.
Of course, yeah, the great SWAC players, Kenny Burroughs and all of those guys came out of Texas Southern.
Here's play action. Luke rolling to the right with time in front of him, and finally brought down, but not before he gets the first down inside the 25 to about the 23-yard line. So Kelsey Luke picking it up with his legs this time, and let's take a look at it once again.
Yeah, Kelsey Luke, I mean, just a guy, he can run and also throw. I mean, he's been very effective in running the football. Of course, they don't want him to run and take those type of hits like he's taking, because you need him for the rest of the year. And, of course, that big Magic City Classic game in 2 weeks we talked about earlier.
That's for sure.
Are you going to be there?
I'm going to be there. I'm going to be there.
Some things you don't miss.
No, you don't miss that. You don't miss that at all.
Of course, after this play, we'll talk about one of the greatest things that's happened to you. And also, a lot of people don't realize you've been inducted into the Division II Hall of Fame as Ulysses Banks tries to go to the right side, and the running goes very, very tough for him on that right side as he's brought down there by the defense of Alabama. Make that Arkansas Pine-Bluff. But you've been inducted into the Division II Hall of Fame. A lot of people don't know that because it's overshadowed by the Pro Football Hall of Fame, which you went in 2002.
Oh, yeah. Great honor for me. Great honor, I think, for not only me, but the Alabama A&M University and what we were able to accomplish. And certainly my hats off to the guys I played with, because they helped make that happen.
Well, I believe just about everybody you played with back in that era went into the Hall of Fame. I would say not everybody, but I mean guys like Mike Webster, Mel Blount, Terry Bradshaw, Joe Green, and here's Alabama A&M running the ball to the left side this time. Jack Ham, Franco Harris, Jack Lambert, Lynn Swan.
We had 9 guys off that team to go in. You know, my rookie year in 1974, our first 4 draft choices went into the Hall of Fame.
And it's great. I mean, it's not many teams you guys can say that many guys I played with win the Hall of Fame. Yeah, you have a lot of guys on the same team, but the guys you actually played with. What are you doing now?
Well, we just recently sold our business. We had an engineering firm doing a lot of work for the Department of Defense. Sold that business a year ago last year, and working with my foundation to provide dollars for kids coming into Alabama A&M University.
Kelsey Luke trying the right side this time. Not much doing there, but he gets the first down inside the 10, where it'll be 1st and goal. And of course, you're in a great city when you talk about engineering and aerospace and all the things that's happening in Huntsville, Alabama. This is not a bad place to be, is it?
Not a bad place to be. Not a bad place for a university to be either, because a lot of the students that coming out of the School of Engineering here at A&M are getting the opportunity to work with NASA and to work with the Army and doing some pretty exciting things.
So it's 1st and goal now for Alabama A&M, trying to stretch their 14-7 lead. And here's the handoff to Ulysses Banks, but he is stopped immediately in his tracks, and not much running room for him there, as he's brought down immediately by Anton Williams.
You're still actively involved in a lot of things going on around campus, because you're just a great ambassador, not just for Alabama A&M, but also the whole SWAC conference, with the success you've had, not just on the playing field, but also in the world of business, just the things you're doing with your foundation also. We're
having a great time with it. You know, I think once you've been given and put on a certain platform and given certain things, that you have an obligation to give back, and we're trying to do that not only here in Huntsville, but around the state and around the Southeast.
This one goes incomplete. One of your greatest feats I always remember is the winning touchdown catch, Super Bowl 14. You remember that one?
I do remember them. I do remember them. Big catches for us. Was able to do come up with some big catches in the Super Bowl. You know, as a kid growing up, you want to make the big play in the biggest game of the year. And we were very fortunate that we had an opportunity to do that, not only in 14, but also in 13 against the Cowboys, but against the Rams for 74 yards, 75 yards. Put us ahead and put us ahead to stay. Some exciting times.
That was in the at Pasadena.
Right, in Pasadena.
I was there. I was at that particular game, so I remember it very well. There's a timeout on the field. 9:19 left, 3rd quarter. Stay with us. We are enjoying this conversation, and it's John Stallworth. We'll be back.
1920, home to 10 outstanding institutions of higher learning that's dedicated to offering challenging educational opportunities to talented students and future leaders from all across America. Whether in the classroom or on the field of play, the SWAC is committed to building character and champions. The Southwestern Athletic Conference, focused on service, scholarship, and shaping the minds of our future leaders.
ESPNU College Football, presented by Buffalo Wild Wings, is brought to you by Dick's Sporting Goods. Every season starts at Dick's. 3rd down and 11 here. Space Center and the Space Camp here in Huntsville, Alabama, where kids can come and spend a couple of weeks each and every year. In fact, Saturn V was developed here in Huntsville, Alabama, along with John Stallworth and Eddie Robinson, Charlie Neal here. 3rd and 11, facing Alabama A&M rather. Kelsey Luke throws, touchdown. Touchdown in the end zone, and it's Stockdale for the 2nd touchdown reception of the year. He's a happy camper.
And we found that one, didn't he?
Yes, he did.
That's what you expect out of Kelsey. Look, I mean, this guy's a 5th-year senior. You see how he just buys time, just looks at the defense, doesn't panic, realizes that he can use his legs to get more time in the pocket, and then throws the touchdown to Stockdale.
So they go for the point after. Jeremy Lycia for the PAT to make it a 21-7 ball game. The kick is up, and this one is good. 9:13, the time remaining in the 3rd quarter. And John, thank you so much for joining us. And it's always a pleasure seeing you. It's been a long time, and it's always great having you and seeing you when we come to Huntsville.
Well, thank you very much.
All right.
Great. Thank you. And good luck in that Magic City Classic.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you.
He said good luck, because Eddie doesn't mean that.
Not at all.
He's rooting for Alabama State.
You guys take care.
All right. Thank you, John. John Stallworth, one of the great ones. I'll tell you, nice to see him here. Of course, he, like I said, we played with some of the great players in Pittsburgh Steelers history. 4th round pick in '74 out of here, and we went to 6 AFC championships and 4 Super Bowls.
Yeah, I grew up actually, Charlie, as a Pittsburgh Steelers fan as a kid. But once I got drafted by the Houston Oilers, it was just like the hate relationship. That was the enemy. You just hated the Pittsburgh Pittsburgh Steelers. My first NFL game was against the Steelers on a Sunday night in the Astrodome, and they beat us like on the last second touchdown. And ever since then, it was just anti-Steelers.
And that last drive was an 8-play, 53-yard affair. It took 3:49 off the clock.
Of course, if you're Pine-Bluff, you have to respond. I mean, you started off this third quarter giving up a safety and not a touchdown. Now you're down 14 points. Your offense has to make something happen right here.
And this one will be brought out as Lycia, or make that Kyler, who's doing the kicking off. He's had 2 that he's kicked out of the end zone today. That gives him 5 for the season. That will touch backs. This will be brought out to the 20-yard line, and one of the things, they move the kickoff back 30 yards to try to keep that from happening, but he says he's going to defy that.
I mean, it's a big advantage to the defense. I mean, statistically, it's so hard to score when you start at your own 20-yard line. You don't see a lot of 80-yard drives in college football, so when you can have a kicker that can make those type of kicks where you back that offense up, hey, it's a big advantage to the defense.
Second possession of the second half for Arkansas Pine-Bluff, and the quarterback is in trouble, and the reason he's in trouble is Chris Traylor and Jeremy Maddox back there, number 54.
That's Jeremy Maddox, man. That's 3 sacks today. I tell you, that he gets one more, they're going to carry him off the field. They're trying to run the bootleg, and he's not having anything up. And that's a great job. When you make a tackle on the quarterback like Chris Wallace in the open field, I mean, that's very hard to do. You look at there just playing the side to side, trying to fake him out. Hey, he won't have any of that. And this guy's only 6 feet, 244 pounds, but the speed that they come off the corner, then you have those athletes playing defensive end. Man, that's a big advantage to the defense.
So a loss on the play of about 6 yards. 2nd and 16, pressure again, and this pass for Jones goes incomplete. Correction, that is not Jones, the intended receiver for Pine-Bluff. That's Remo Gay, the tight end, number 19.
You don't want to get into a situation where you're playing from behind against Alabama A&M. And I'll tell you why. These guys, 22 sacks, first in the conference going into this football game. They have 4 sacks today. They had an interception. They also had a safety. I mean, they know how to play really good defense. Just because that offense scores all of those points, remember, over the years, Alabama A&M's defense is what always carries them to victory.
Dominique Cummins, number 96, you saw there. Defensive side of the ball, A&M leading by a pair of touchdowns. Here's the pass, and this is too big and almost intercepted. Almost a 3rd turnover of the ball game to go with the safety. The ball was too tall for the intended receiver there. That was Jason Jones, and there's Donaldson trying for his 2nd interception of the year. He has 4 on his career.
And he caught the first one, the first play of the game. That would have been a nice one to leave with a pair.
So this drive started at the 20. They're punting from their own 15, so they're -5 on the drive. John Heflin has gone all the way at the punting spot. Not a good kick by him. It goes off the side of his foot and takes a bounce down to about the 47-yard line. Let's see where they're going to mark it, because I believe it may have hit one of the players on the kicking team from Arkansas Pine-Bluff. So they're actually going to spot it at about the 39. Let's see, women's volleyball action coming up at 11 p.m. Eastern. Pepperdine taking on Santa Clara. It's the ESPNU Volleyball Invitational, and it's presented by 76. For more, log on to ESPNU.com, your home for the finest in college sports. Charlie Neal and Eddie Robinson here in Huntsville, Alabama, where Alabama A&M, leading by 2 touchdowns, has the ball in great field position at the 39-yard line, and going to the right is Ulysses Banks, and Banks is inside the 30 down to the 29, and he should have enough for a first down after that 10-yard gain. Ulysses Banks came into that run with 39 yards on 13 carries in the contest, and he moves the chains forward to give him 49 as you look at Anthony Jones on the sideline.
A lot of tough yards by Banks tonight. I mean, this Pine-Bluff defense has really come to play. They've been put in some tough situations, but they're still standing up to the test. We'll see if they can hold Alabama A&M out the end zone once more.
They put 6 players on the first all-SWAC team this year, 4 on the second, but their quarterback did not get any honors as Ulysses Banks still on his feet, and Ulysses struggles for about 7 yards. down at about the 22-yard line.
Yeah, and Banks, we knew that this guy was extremely fast. Matter of fact, when we talked to Nick Luke, which of course is the older brother of Kelsey Luke and a former Alabama A&M star runner last year, I mean, he said, we know this kid is fast, but, you know, he has to get in between those tackles. And I think you'll see, I mean, this guy's a strong kid. I mean, he runs hard. He's not very big, 5'8", 172 pounds, but he's a muscular and well-built kid. So, I mean, I think even though he has that speed to go around the outside, he's still going to be a good runner between the tackles as he learns how to really get in there and be aggressive at the college level.
18 yards on the last 2 carries, 8 on that one, brings up a 2nd down and 2 at the 22. Luke decides to call a timeout. He didn't like what he saw on the defense when he got his team set, and he's going to come over to the sideline and talk things over with the brain thrust from Alabama A&M. We talk about this next game against Alabama State, and that will come next Saturday, and that will be in Birmingham, Alabama. Remember, last year these two teams played in the SWAC championship game. 22-13 was the final score. Alabama A&M came on and won it. They had a 45-yard touchdown pass. Here's Jonathan Moore for Arkansas Pine-Bluff. Jason Jones wide open, and he takes it into the end zone. But Tamar Scott had a big day for Alabama A&M. He scored 2 touchdowns on the day, and it was 22-13 the final score. That one was from 5 yards out, and after 4 tries, Alabama A&M finally breaks the drought and wins their SWAC championship after losing 3 to Grambling State in the championship game.
And you can see from that point on, I mean, 5-1 for Alabama A&M, 1-5 for Arkansas Pine-Bluff. So that defeat for Pine-Bluff, they just seem to never have really recovered from that.
No, indeed. Here's a play into the end zone. Harris has it. Touch. No, they're going to call it incomplete. He dropped it going out of bounds. Coming down with it. He had it, but coming down with it, he just did not hold on, and the ball falls incomplete.
Yeah, great throw here by Kelsey Luke. I mean, he puts it at the back of the end zone where the receiver has a chance to make the catch. Just a good job by the defender. I think the defender just really stuck his hand in there at the last second and really fought it out. But, I mean, hey, good effort by the receiver to try to make that catch in Thomas Harris.
Manal Webster was the defender, the senior out of Los Angeles. And there's the total yards this quarter, a -12. This is in the second half.
And the safety.
And the safety. Here's Luke rolling to the right. He's going to take off and run. Now he throws, and this one's almost, it's intercepted, but out of bounds, and it will not count. As Jermaine Clemens, the senior, also out of Los Angeles, came up with the INT, but he was out of bounds when he got it.
Just trying to force one in. The receivers actually covered. I mean, very fortunate for A&M that this ball isn't intercepted. It was caught, but it just wasn't caught in bounds. But just kind of ran out of ground. I think Kelsey knows that that's one that maybe he should have tucked in and ran. But I mean, he's a smart player. He's not a guy that the coach really has to get on. He leads by example, and he knows the game of football extremely well.
39-yard field goal attempt by Lycia. He's kicked 2 already today. This will be number 3.
Blocked.
And this one is blocked.
Let it go.
And so the 39-yard field goal attempt blocked by Arkansas Pine-Bluff. Remember, they had good field position. They started at the 39, drove down to the 22, and let's see if we can see who got a hand on it. Looked like big number 72 came in there for Pine-Bluff, and
Aaron Hentz
got his
92, yeah.
Or 92, Hentz, yeah.
I mean, 6'3", 310. That's a good job getting off the ground and getting that block by the senior from Pine-Bluff, Arkansas. But I mean, they came into this game with 5 block punts or field goals. I mean, it's something that they work on in special teams, so it's not by accident that they come in here and block a kick by Alabama A&M.
And that's the first field goal he's had blocked this year, Lycia, as we get a run up the left side.
Oh, ball on the ground.
Ball is on the ground, and looks like Mullen has come up with it. Let's see. We haven't no word on the official. Maybe they're saying it was recovered. Pine-Bluff did have it. Mullen was right there under it and had an opportunity to wrap it up, but did not.
Yeah, Mickey Dean comes into the game, and he's running downhill, just kind of loose with the ball. He's carrying it in the wrong hand, and when you're in traffic like that, you can't have one hand on the football. I mean, this Alabama A&M defense is very aggressive. They force a lot of turnovers, so you have to be careful.
Second back in the eye is Mickey Dean, going left side this time, and Dean, that was a 2nd and 1 play, and he picks up the first down across the 35 to about the 38.
And that's why you don't really understand why this Pine Bluff team has only scored 14 points. Of course, you had Martell Mallett, 1,000-yard rusher from last year, but also the year before that. I mean, Mickey Dean was a guy who was the man who had rushed for 1,000 yards and was a big-time runner, but he was hurt last year. So, I mean, you thought with having both of those runners back together this year, along with Wallace, the all-conference quarterback, and the big play receivers, you would expect this team to put up more points on the scoreboard, but they're still only averaging 14 points a game.
A lot of it has to do with the offensive line, and you talk to Mo Forte as Mickey Dean gets the call. He talks about the offensive line has been a problem. They've not been dependable, even though they've been getting better. The team now playing for pride and playing for a winning season. And the big key is in this game for him, he said, was attitude. And so far this year, they have not given up. But he did have a concern coming in, is that they have to score enough points to win.
Yeah, I mean, and last week they were down 24-6 to Grambling and came back and cut that ball game to a 7-point ball game and had the go-ahead touchdown, was called back because of penalty. So, I mean, what he says is his effort has never been diminished from his kids. And you really like that.
And that's important as Wallace is in trouble, and he is wrapped up by 3 maroon jerseys of Alabama A&M as he gets back to about the 39-yard line. Still lost about 2, and to bring up a 3rd and 9.
But you look at this offensive line for Pine Bluff, man, they have only 1 senior. And when you look at all the skill positions that are still coming back, the only guys that they're losing are Wallace at quarterback and, of course, Jason Jones, a great wide receiver. But you still have Martell Mallett, Mickey Dean, Jonathan Moore, who essentially turned into the starter this year, coming back to quarterback. I mean, they still have a lot of talent to come back to this team next year, and that offensive line should be better.
Wallace in trouble, and he gets out of there for a moment, and then he's finally sacked. But they have been coming with a vengeance, and they have sacked him. That's the 4th time tonight at the quarterback. Chris Wallace, as a team, they came in having given up 28 sacks, and they were ranked 115th out of 116
well, I think
teams.
They're going to be last after tonight.
Yeah, unless Portland State comes up with something. Unless somebody gets to Portland State about 4 times on Saturday. And Portland State was the leading team in the nation in terms of number of sacks allowed, 31 coming in. And let's go back to the studio and join Lowell Galindo for a SportsCenter UN game update. Lowell.
Yeah, Charlie, it was a 17-13 lead for South Florida at the half, but on the opening drive of the second, it's Mike Teal to Tyquan Underwood, speed down the sideline, forget about it. Rutgers gets the score, and they lead in the third, 20-17.
Boy, I'll tell you, Teal and Underwood hooking up. Of course, Rutgers Scarlet Light last season versus South Florida, won 22-20 down in Tampa. Ray Rice, 202 yards rushing and a pair of touchdowns. And Ray Rice, 818 yards coming into tonight's ball game. And here's some pressure on Kelsey Luke, and he is dropped back at about the 16-yard line. Well, it's a pretty good ball game going on. You know, last year Rutgers was a Cinderella team. This year South Florida's a Cinderella team.
Well, I tell you what, it's tough. I mean, when you travel on the road and you're #2 team in the country and you're not used to being in that position, that's always a setup game. And you have to keep in mind, I mean, Rutgers is a desperate team. They can't afford to lose another ball game. So when you have that going against you, it's just like LSU. I mean, they played a great game against Florida, win that game at home. Then you have to travel on the road to Kentucky. Man, those back-to-back tough games like that are hard on those kids.
No question about it. And Rutgers is ranked 12th in the nation in passing offense as they keep the ball on the ground. We got a late flag coming in all the way from about 15, 20 yards downfield.
Referee's trying to test his arm.
He wanted to be a quarterback as McWhorter got the call there, the freshman out of Jasper, Alabama. Haven't had a lot of penalties here in the second half. We're down to 2:21 left in the third quarter. This is a personal foul face mask, and this is against Pine Bluff.
And we talked to Coach Jones about his goals that he sets for his offense.
Face mask on the defense, 15 yards from the end of the run, automatic first down.
He's always have been big. Even last year when they were a defensive-oriented team, it was time of possession. He wanted to hold the ball 30-plus minutes, 20 first downs, 100% in the red zone. And here's the face mask coming up here. Yeah, that's definitely the 15-yard variety. And he wanted to give up 0 sacks and score 28 points. And pretty much they've done that in every game except for that Grambling State game. And it seems like they may be on their way to reaching most of those goals again tonight.
The other thing he wanted was about 400 yards of offense. He has 226 right now as Kelsey Luke throws this one out into the track.
Then he kind of smiled at us. He said, but the most important thing is, of course, win the football game. Right? That's the only thing the fans really care about.
Point.
Right? The fans only care about, I don't care how many yards you had, how many points you averaged, did you win? Now you have a holding penalty against Alabama A&M, and it's going back to those things that they usually don't do. They're usually not a highly penalized team, but tonight it's been a problem.
Holding on the defense, on the offense, number 43, 10-yard penalty from the previous spot, replay first.
Now, McWhorter had a face mask against him, on him, by the defense in the previous play. Then he gets called for holding. But if you look at Anthony Jones, what he's done since he's been here, 8-4 in his first year, 8-4 his second year. In 2004, he went 7-4 in the last 2 years, 9-3. Kelsey Luke was the quarterback of record in most of those since 2004, 05, 06. And, of course, this year, 29-8 as a starter. And if this holds up, he'll be 30-8 as a starter as they keep the ball on the ground with Anthony Green, who has a touchdown rushing so far tonight out of San Antonio, Texas. Now, what is so impressive about this Alabama A&M team and what they've been able to do is you have Ulysses Banks, who's just a sophomore. Anthony Green's a freshman. McWhorter is just a freshman. We haven't even seen Sylvester Stewart tonight. He's a freshman. Or Kevin McCants, who's a sophomore. They've got a young running back core. And I asked him yesterday, we talked a little bit about, you know, what do you do for a quarterback? How do you replace a Kelsey Luke who's almost impossible to replace? You know, and it's going to be interesting. He's going to really put Kevin Atkins to the test. And when they get up to spring ball,
he's going to put him in the fire.
He's going to put him in the fire.
I like that.
Yeah. I'm not just going to put him to the test. I'm going to put the oven on.
See what happens.
Turn the oven on.
But, you know, one thing I like about Coach Jones, and one of my favorite coaches in the NFL is Bill Parcells. And I tell you why. It's because these guys know how to win with the players they have. You know, he's traditionally a run the football first guy and then pass second. But when you have a Kelsey Luke, a fifth-year senior guy who can distribute the ball like he can, hey, we'll open it up. We'll open up the offense. We're going to win on the edges because we have that type of team. Now, once a Kelsey Luke is gone, then you go back to these running backs that you mentioned, this good offensive line. Don't be surprised if they go back to his traditional run first. So you have to be able to win with the players you have. And a lot of coaches can't make that adjustment.
Well, one of the things he has trust in his coaching staff. Cedric Pearl and Roger Totten, especially in the passing game, because they've convinced him to do some things that traditionally he would not do in the past. And he's listened, and it has paid off for him. And there you look at it, you know, I mean, 436 yards a game, 37 points per game. That's the highest total since Anthony Jones has been here because they've opened up the offense. And as you said, they may have to go back to the running game next year depending on how Kevin Atkins responds.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a follower of the A&M football program, and I've been playing against, you know, and know this program since 1988, I mean, they've been traditionally always a hardcore run the football program with strong defense.
Punting situation. Fair catch call for.
Oh, it touched him.
And it touched him. And let's see who comes up with it. And it's going to be Alabama A&M ball, a break for them. And that's the third turnover of the day for Arkansas Pine-Bluff. It touched the return person, Bruce Peters, and they come up, that is Alabama A&M, in the form of Corey Morrison with the recovery.
Yeah, Peters has to make a decision. He wants to fair catch it, or you have to get out the way. Seems like he may have lost the football in the last minute, and once it touches him, hey, it's a free-for-all, it's a live ball. The Bulldogs there, Johnny on the spot, and able to get the turnover. Definitely a touch, and you got to just either catch the ball or either get out the way.
So they get the ball back at the 10-yard line where it'll be first down and goal. Stockdale in motion. Luke on the pitch to the near side to Green. Green at the 5, cuts it back, touchdown, his second of the night. Anthony Green, the freshman from San Antonio, Texas. He scored on a 1-yard run earlier to make it a 7-6 ball game, the first touchdown for Alabama A&M of the evening, and he just increased the lead to 27-7 with that 10-yard run.
That's the signs of a good football team. You get a turnover, you have a team on the ropes, you put them away right here, right now, the first play, touchdown by Anthony Green.
One play, they're in the end zone as a result of a mistake. So every mistake that Arkansas Pine-Bluff has made tonight, it has been capitalized on by Alabama A&M. They convert the first 2 turnovers into field goals. They get a safety, and then they also get a touchdown off of the fumble recovery, or the muff, as you might want to call it, because he never actually got the ball.
Yeah, but it's still a turnover. It all counts.
48 seconds is the time remaining here in the third quarter. Trying to make it a 3-touchdown ball game, 28-7. Now remember, in the last 2 ball games, don't turn away yet. Arkansas Pine-Bluff has come back against New Mexico. They came back last week against Grambling. So they're not out of this ball game, and there's still plenty of time. We still have over 15 minutes of football remaining, but they're down by 21 points. It's 28-7. A 1-play 10-yard drive that took only 6 seconds off the clock after the muff by Bruce Peters. And look at Mr. Green go to work.
Yeah, Anthony Green just giving the stutter step. Linebacker's not fast enough to make the tackle. Anton Williams, he just gets into the end zone, going over the left side of that offensive line from Alabama A&M. A lot of speed on this Alabama A&M offense. I think that's the biggest difference between this team and the prior teams that I've seen when the Bulldogs play. They've never had so much speed on offense. When you look at Ulysses Banks and Anthony Green, even Kelsey Luke is another guy at the quarterback position who has 4 or 5 speed. So a lot of these guys can run, and that's why they have so many big plays, and their offense is averaging over 400 yards a game, because they have guys who can take a 5-yard catch and turn it into a 20 or 30-yard play. They haven't had that in the past.
Well, this year, Luke has had big play passes. Has covered 63 yards, 65 yards, 70 yards, just to kind of add on to what you were just saying, Eddie, that they can be a big play team when they have to be.
You see Coach Jones on the sideline always coaching, trying to get his guys better, more improved.
Austin on the return, or is that Bruce Peters? That's Bruce Peters, and Peters takes it out to the 31-yard line. First down and 10, Pine-Bluff with 40 seconds to go in the third quarter. And they trail in this ball game, and he's talking things over with Jason Thomas, the left tackle freshman out of Sherwood, Arkansas, teaching the young man.
Yeah, and Coach Jones, I mean, just the way we ate dinner with those guys yesterday, just the way he has control of the players. I mean, he's a very authoritative figure in the room. I mean, he's a big guy, first of all. He's just as big as the offensive lineman, and the players really look up and respect what he's doing.
Jonathan Moore has come on in relief of Chris Wallace, and here's a run to the right side by Martell Mallett, and Martell Mallett out to the 39-yard line.
And I can tell you what, I mean, it really doesn't matter, who you have at quarterback, but this Alabama A&M defense, I mean, the quarterback, Pine-Bluff has been sacked 6 times today, once for a safety. So, I mean, and there's a late hit, which was a penalty, but still, I mean, just a rough day for Wallace. So, I mean, this is part of the reason why they haven't been successful. Look at the guys in the backfield. Every time he turns around, it's a maroon jersey staring him in the face. So it really doesn't matter who you have at the quarterback spot. If when he looks up, he sees nothing but maroon in his face.
No question. Now, that's going to be the end of the third quarter here, where our score is 28-7. The home team out front by 21 points. 15 minutes of football remaining here in Huntsville.
Pepperdine versus Santa Clara tonight at 11 p.m. on ESPNU.
Anything you buy at the Home Depot could turn into 4 seats to the Super Bowl and the Pro Bowl and the NFL Draft. Buy select products and you double your entries. So enter today and see what happens. Only at the Home Depot.
Every time you try.
The fourth quarter here in Huntsville, Alabama. 2nd down and 2 facing Arkansas Pine-Bluff, trailing 28-7, and you see the score by quarters. And we're in the fourth quarter here. Pine-Bluff only managed to score in this ball game in the first quarter with 6:08 to go. Martell Mallett on a 7-yard run. In case you just joined us, a pair of field goals that came off of turnovers by Arkansas Pine-Bluff gave Alabama A&M a 6-0 lead, and then Mallett's 7-yard run made it 7-6. Green's first touchdown of the night made it 12-7 before halftime. In the second half here, third quarter, 3 touchdowns by, actually 2 touchdowns and a safety by Alabama A&M. Luke, 11-yard touchdown pass to make to my favorite receiver. That is Stockdale. Finally getting into the end zone for the 2nd time this year. And then Green's 1-yard run. His 2nd of the evening, and we're 28-7.
But for Pine-Bluff to get back into this football game, and they're going to have to score fast. I mean, they've been a big play offense last year. That's something that's been missing from their repertoire this year in 2007. But Jonathan Moore's going to have to get something going in a big play fashion to get on the board.
Only 118 total yards for Pine-Bluff so far this evening. And a sack of the quarterback. And he came in again with Okeson. There he is, Afu Okeson, a freshman out of Mundy Mills High in College Park, Georgia, with the sack. And that's about this, what, 7th sack today?
Yeah, just meeting me at the quarterback. You see Christopher Trailer coming around the outside. He'll get half of that sack also. And like you said, I mean, these guys, this is a tough situation. I wouldn't want to be a quarterback in this situation. You're talking about a team coming into the game with 22 sacks. They have 6 today and a safety, interceptions, turnovers. I mean, this is a tough position to come into the football game and expect to put points on the board if you're Jonathan Moore.
But I also know you can appreciate the job that Okeson and Mullen and Rice and those linebackers are doing, having been a linebacker in this conference.
Oh, I love it. I mean, these guys play defense the way you're supposed to play, and it all starts with their defense coordinator, Bronski Towns. I mean, he recruits these undersized guys. I mean, you have defensive ends like Maddox, who's, 6 feet 244, Trailer. He's only 5'10", 221, but they're extremely fast. So he knows that he can't recruit the big, strong, fast guys. So he gets guys who are athletes, and he takes those athletes and put them in position and use their speed and their quickness. Now, you always have the chance that you can get over power play. You can't block what you can't see, and these guys are so fast. You can see the offensive tackles. As soon as they get out their stance, they're already passing them into the quarterback.
Bronski Towns, an assistant at one time at Arkansas Pine-Bluff, as was Roger Totten, who's the offensive wide receivers coach. Here's Moore, throws, and is caught on the sideline, and they're going to give him the catch. They're going to say yes. Had 1 foot in, a first down gain. And there's Jason Jones, big play receiver for Arkansas Pine-Bluff, with his 4th reception of the afternoon.
Yeah, I mean, he's been pretty much the lone bright spot from this Arkansas Pine-Bluff offense. I mean, the running backs can't really get anything going, but Jason Jones is he's a very smooth receiver. This guy can make the big play. He knows how to run routes. Look here, concentration on the ball, put 2 feet in bounds. This guy can play at the next level with the speed and the size and athleticism that he has. He's the one player on this Pine-Bluff team from an offensive standpoint that really hasn't taken a year off. He's still doing the same thing this year that he did last year.
First down and 10 after the 20-yard reception. And here's Moore under pressure. Moves out. Intercepted. Mullen on the interception, taking it back up the field. 4th turnover for Arkansas Pine-Bluff. So Avery Molen, the senior out of Turn High, the leading tackler on this team, comes up with his first interception of the season.
Yeah, the former defensive end moved to middle linebacker, guy who has great speed and instincts. And I mean, here is just the pressure. Once again, look at the pressure outside. I mean, you see maroon jerseys as soon as you drop back to pass. And Molen, hey, making the catch. Hey, this is a linebacker's dream here, Charlie. Turn into a fullback, able to make a play, running the football, something that you don't get to do often. But it's just no one there. I mean, he's just throwing and looking for the crossing route. Molen just sitting to his drop and making the easy catch.
So from their own 39-yard line, I should say from Pine-Bluff 39-yard line, this is the third time in the second half they've started on the other side of the 50-yard line, but this one not much running room this time for Anthony Green. Let's join Lowell Galindo in the studio for a SportsCenter U in-game update.
Yeah, third quarter, South Florida lined up for a game-tying field goal against Rutgers, but Devin McCourtney gets a paw on it, blocking it. It's no good. Still a 3-point lead, and Rutgers has the ball inside the South Florida 20.
All right. Good one going on in Piscataway, New Jersey, and we have a Alabama A&M domination down here in Huntsville, Alabama, with 12:05 to go in the contest. They just created the fourth turnover of the ball game, as you saw Avery Molen there. He comes up with the big INT on an errant pass by Pine-Bluff quarterback. Here's Kelsey Luke's pass that's batted in the air, intended for John Smith, and it goes incomplete.
Yeah, trying to go once again to one of the big tight ends that's been a big part of this A&M offense. And what you like about these guys, they complete the ball to so many different receivers. So it's hard to focus in on who do you stop. And you have Ulysses Banks coming out of the backfield. He has 3 or 4 catches tonight. Charles Moody, John Smith, all of these guys. Stockdale has a touchdown. So, I mean, it's very hard to defend this offense because Kelsey Luke seems to always make the right decision with the football.
We talked about Kelsey Luke and came into the game with a lot of career best yards as far as touchdowns is concerned. His brother Nick Luke is the school career rushing leader in touchdowns, as this pass is complete out in the flat. And another one of those young freshmen, young guns, Anthony Green out of San Antonio, Texas, who has a pair of touchdowns so far this evening on the carry. That'll bring up a 4th down. So far they were not able to do anything with that turnover. And in the previous 3 turnovers that they've created, that is Alabama A&M, they put some points on the board, a pair of field goals and a touchdown, but nothing doing on this one. And they're going to punt it away unless something unforeseen happens and they keep possession of the football.
Yeah, but Pine-Bluff, man, their defense, man, they're playing tough. They're just coming into the game in real tough situations all night long.
Bruce Peters feels it and is out of bounds. After a return of about 11 yards, he's knocked out at the 21-yard line. And Arkansas Pine-Bluff gets the ball once again.
Yeah, Pine-Bluff is just going to have to be patient. I mean, they can't try to score 21 points in one pass. Just be patient and run your offense.
Now let's look and listen to this big hit on the sideline by Alabama A&M's Justin Borden. Right there, number 18. We'll be back. Well, they're trying to get their sign on TV, and I'll tell you, they're not too far from wrong, but people have to notice Alabama A&M University. Part of ESPNU's telecast tonight. And here's a breakaway run being taken down by Mickey Dean. Mickey Dean down the sideline looking for some help. Got hit. He just ran out of gas. Mickey Dean ran out of gas.
Well, they haven't been getting those big, long runs like that this year, Charlie. That's the whole point. These guys are a big play team, and there you see it, Mickey Dean turning the corner, but just doesn't have the energy to get it into the end zone. But they need some of those big plays to get things going. Just a simple toss play, and look at the speed, and wow, he just gets out. I don't know how he got out of that.
Tackles.
Yeah, and he's just moving, but like you said, here comes the big alligator on his back right about now. Can't make it into the end. Nobody tackled him. He just fell down at the 10-yard line and ran out of energy.
74 yards on the run. 74 on the run by Mickey Dean, his longest of his career. The previous was 14 yards. He got 74 there, and he's over 100 yards for this game. They were in minus yards in the second half until that big 74-yard run, which gave him 112 for the game. Now here's Moore, rolling left, has it complete. Jones, touchdown. But a flag is going down. We may have face mask on top of it. Let's see what happens. It is a touchdown. He's in the end zone. Jason Jones. And let's see what the penalty is about. We may have face mask. Maybe we don't. It may be offensive something. They're talking things over with Harold Cooper, our referee.
But Charlie, these are the type of drives that they had last year. You know, 2-play drives for 80 yards. You know, 3-play drives for 90 yards. Those type of things. But the big plays just have been slow to come for Pine-Bluff this year.
All right, what was the penalty? I don't know. Something. All right, come on, tell us something here, Harold. Whatever it is, it's taking too long.
Offensive pass interference on the white, holding on the defense. Those penalties offset. We replay first down.
So there is no touchdown. Let's see what happens. Ball's in the air, and that's where the offensive pass interference comes in on Bruce Peters, number 10. And then we had
holding on Alabama A&M also.
On Alabama A&M. So you did have offsetting penalties, and it will be first and goal.
All over again.
All over again. Deja vu.
That play never happened.
At the 5-yard line. Martell Mallett down to the 3. Let's go back to the studio. Lowell Galindo.
Guys, Rutgers is pulling out all the stops to try and beat number 2 South Florida. Already a successful fake punt. How about the fake field goal? Andrew DePola, the perfect touch to Kevin Brock. That makes it 27-17. Rutgers in the 3rd.
Boy, they're ranked 11th in total offense in the nation. Came in averaging almost 500 yards a game. That is Rutgers. So they're starting to pour it on, and now another upset may be in the making.
I tell you what, the home team on Thursday nights is always tough to beat because there's so many things going on campus, the excitement. And when you bring in a highly ranked team like that, man, the home fans just really get excited. If your team starts playing well early, the fans can pretty much propel you to the victory.
And they normally even cancel classes.
Exactly.
When you have that Thursday night and nothing's going on after about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Don't forget Friday night, ESPNU delivers more college football. Northwestern taking on Eastern Michigan from Ford Field in Detroit. That comes your way at 7 p.m. Eastern. Friday primetime college football is presented by Home Depot right here on ESPNU. For more, log on to ESPNU.com. It's your home for the finest in college sports. Along with Eddie Robinson, Charlie Neal here in Huntsville, Alabama for this Southwestern Athletic Conference matchup. And, of course, the Jackson State people getting ready for a big game down in Jackson on Saturday. They will celebrate the 40th anniversary of that stadium which Jackson State played, the Memorial Stadium there in Jackson, Mississippi. And they will be playing that game on Saturday against Grambling State University. And the first team they played in that stadium was Grambling State University.
Well, you know, it's great to see Grambling and Jackson both come into that game undefeated in the conference. It reminds you of all of the big battles they had throughout the entire 80s and the early 90s when they had W.C. Gordon was the coach of Jackson State, and the great Eddie Robinson was, of course, the coach of Grambling.
Here's Martell Mallett to the right side, and he's going to be stopped shy of the goal line.
I mean, that game just routinely would pretty much decide who was going to be the SWAC champions. And kind of going back to that same route again, of course, the Alabama A&M Bulldogs have a lot to say in that.
No question.
As far as Jackson State making it to that championship game. And if you look at that SWAC championship game, ever since the first game when Jackson State made it to the championship game, it's been either Alabama A&M or Alabama State representing the East every year. You can tell, hey, there's the champion for last year, 2006. Alabama A&M Bulldogs, their first ever SWAC title.
And they split with Pine-Bluff during the regular season. Pine-Bluff won the regular season game, and then in the championship, when it counted the most, here's a run into the end zone, touchdown, and it's Mickey Dean. Why not? He took him down there. Why not let him take it in?
Strong runner, Mickey Dean. I mean, this guy is a physical guy, just in the same breath as Martell Mallett. Both of these guys can break tackles. They have the speed to do a lot of big things. Trying to get that offense on track. I mean, this is still a dangerous Pine-Bluff football team. You don't want to play this type of team going down the stretch of your season because they can really upset you and make you look bad. Even though they're 1-5, they have so much talent that's still on this football team.
4-play, 79-yard drive. They used up 2:13 off the clock, and here's the point after, which is good, and it's 28-14, 2-touchdown ball game, and it was set up by a 74-yard run by Mickey Dean. His longest of his career. And he just ran out of gas. He was getting down there. He was trying to set up some blocks, and he finally takes it in from 2 yards out, and it's 28-14. Mickey Dean with his first touchdown of the season. State, are you in good hands? Space Camp, part of the Space Center in the development for NASA here in Huntsville, Alabama. And that's the gyroscope a lot of the astronauts use to feel weightlessness or to see if they can hold up to their dinner, hold on to their dinner.
Well, I'll take your word for it that you'll be weightless. I think I'll pass on the gyroscope. Onside kick.
And a penalty mark is down because it didn't go 10 yards before it was touched. That's where the issue is right now in terms of Arkansas Pine-Bluff. Of course, they have 8:39 remaining on the clock. They're signaling they have the ball, but it didn't go 10 yards. Remember, they kicked from the 30, right, and they're recovering it into 39.
What happens a lot of times on those onside kicks, the kicker takes a slower approach, and a lot of times you get offsides by the kicking team. So it'll be one of those two calls.
Harold Cooper has the infraction.
Outside on number 24 in the white. Be 5 yards, re-kick.
So not only didn't it go to 10 yards, it did not. We had an offsides on the kicking team.
Yeah, see, the kicker slows down at the end of his approach to that onside kick.
Actually, it did go 10 yards.
Yeah,
it's across 40.
It was the offside, but the offside kind of negates all of that. But yeah, good aggressive call by Coach Mo Forte. But you know, you have to try to get something going. You know, you only have 8:39 left in this ball game. You're down by 14 points. You try to catch that A&M kick return team sleep and maybe get you one more possession, one more big play. If you cut it to a 7-point ball game, you never know what can happen.
Talking about Mo Forte, 1986, he was the MEAC Coach of the Year when he was the head coach at North Carolina A&T, and we talked to him a little bit this week, and one of the things I asked him, I said, what's happening with his Aggies? I mean, they've lost 23 straight games. They have the worst, the longest, I should say, losing streak in the championship subdivision. They've lost 23, and I don't think it's going to get any easier for them this week. They're in Washington, D.C. to play Howard for Howard's homecoming.
You never know. This may be the game where they break the jinx. They try another bloop kick.
And it's fielded. Fair catch called for and made by Stockdale. And it'll be good field position for Alabama A&M.
But that Aggie program, I mean, that's one, talking to Coach Mo Forte, it's hard to explain with the resources that they have. I mean, that's a good, football championship subdivision program. There's no reason why they should be losing that many football games in a row.
Yeah, at their own 45-yard line. Let's see, we got another
outside on the kicking team. Decline. Number 2. We're going to penalize 5 yards from the end of the run. First down.
So they're going to move the ball across midfield to the 49-yard line.
I know at this point, Coach Jones is like, hey, we have a 14-point lead. Let's just get this thing over with, run the football, take some time off the clock, try to put another score on so this game is out of reach, because he knows how dangerous this Pine-Bluff offense is. You don't want to give them too many more chances to create some big plays and maybe get back in this football game, and all of a sudden you're in the fight towards the end of the game.
Here's a team that's averaging 37 points a game a year ago, averaging 23 points a game. That is Alabama A&M. And here's Anthony Green again. Anthony Green with a pair of touchdowns already, and he's down inside the 15 to the 17-yard line. Anthony Green out of San Antonio, Texas, and Madison High came into the game with 3 touchdowns, has 2 tonight.
And look at the burst. I mean, you can tell this is a guy that hasn't been playing much tonight. His legs are just a little bit faster than everybody on defense. He's on play number 10. They're on play number 40. And so when you put a guy like that in there with that type of speed, I mean, just a great compliment to Ulysses Banks when you have 2 backs who can be so decisive and have that type of speed and intensity when they're running the football.
Kevin McCants is the up back in the eye right now, and it goes to Green again, but he stopped in the backfield before he could get untracked that time by Anton Williams, the senior out of Little Rock, Arkansas, number 49.
Yeah, he's been playing a good game tonight from that middle linebacker spot. I mean, he's had a sack on the night, the leading tackler with 54 tackles coming into the game. And I mean, you could tell they have some pride on this defense. And he's trying to get the guys going like, hey, they're not going to score on us anymore. I don't care what the situation is.
And a loss of 3 on the play brings up a 2nd and 13. But more importantly for Arkansas Pine-Bluff is the clock is not in their favor, and it's moving, and they don't have the football. And A&M is threatening once again. Here's a rollout by Luke to the right side. Throws, has it complete. First down, 5-yard line. They get it down to the tight end, Charles Moody. And Moody with the catch. And for Charles Moody, that is his first reception of the evening. Came into the game with 21 receptions, 214 yards.
Yeah, came into the game second on the team with receptions from the tight end spot. And I mean, this is a big athletic guy. I mean, you like that from your tight end position. 6 feet, 249 pounds, a senior, and knows how to turn the ball upfield once he gets his hands on it.
Kelsey Luke has completed passes today to 7 different receivers. Coming in, he had completed them to 13. So they spread the ball around a lot when they put it in the air.
They'll do a great job of spreading the ball around.
Under 7 minutes to go. Luke on the keeper, and he is bottled up there and couldn't get untracked. So he just falls down before he loses any more yards, and it'll be 2nd and goal.
And I talked to Coach Johnson. What if it's 3rd and 1? And Kelsey checks out of the running play and throws a 50-yard bomb and it's incomplete. And would you be upset with him? He said, no, not at all, because he feels like he has that much trust in him where he knows to make the right decision and the right call. He has complete control over what he wants to do and the plays that he wants to call because he believes him as a 5th-year senior that he can make the right choice. And here, look at the pass distribution. Wide receivers 55, tight ends and running backs. Everyone touches the ball in this offense.
And Luke again on the keeper, and he is not going to get anything as the whistle blows, and he is wrapped up there by a host of white jerseys. Jared Dorn is in there. Also had some help from Anton Williams and Art Thomas. There's a penalty marker down, and penalties today. 13 penalties between the 2 teams, 8 against Alabama A&M for over 100 yards, 115 to be exact. And that's not something I'm sure Coach Anthony Jones likes.
On the white team, on the red team, number 76, it'll be 15 yards from the end of the run. It'll be 3rd down.
Darius Turner, preseason 2nd team all-conference selection, guilty of the personal foul after the play. And they're going to knock 15 more yards off, and that'll put them in uncharted water. I think that's what the 9th penalty for 129 yards.
Well, in those personal foul penalties, I mean, that'll make Coach Jones take some of those stickers off your helmet because you just can't have that. I mean, you're in the red zone. You're going for the go-ahead touchdown. I mean, they could get it to a 3-touchdown lead with 5 minutes left. The ball game is just about over. Then you have a 15-yard personal foul penalty. That's just something that's unacceptable.
You said take some of those stickers off your helmet.
Give them back.
Yeah, they get them on Friday or the day before a game. Here's a little pressure on Luke, and they get it complete. Still on his feet and down inside the 10 to the 9-yard line. Once again is the big tight end, Charles Moody, and it'll bring up a 4th down and goal.
Yeah, man, the old tight end middle screen, and this play is always hard to stop.
Right through the hands of 97 there, Leachman.
Well, that's why he's playing defensive line, because he can't catch. I mean, Charles Moody knows how to catch the football. He almost gets it to the end zone. But that was a very athletic play by Leachman, but I know he was just surprised to see that football whiz by his head.
What is that going by me? Since we're in Huntsville, he thought it was one of the space capsules or something, huh? Field goal attempt. It'll be a 25-yarder by Lycia. He had one blocked earlier. He's already kicked 2, and he has games in which he's been kicking 3 field goals, 3 field goals, 3 field goals. So this is not unusual for him. And he has his third of the night from 25 yards out. Timeout on the field, 4:35 remaining. A&M in control here, 31-14. 31-14, part of our band cam coverage here. Alabama A&M's marching band, 4:35 to go. And talking about Jeremy Lycia kicked 3 field goals tonight. Prior to tonight, he kicked 2 against Grambling, 2 against Texas Southern, had 1 against Mississippi Valley, missed 1 against Southern a week ago from 40 yards out. And here's one, the kick picked up, trying to go to the right side, up to the 40-yard line. On the return for Pine-Bluff is Trey Austin, the freshman out of Pine-Bluff. Went to Chapel High there, averaging 18 yards per kickoff return. So Pine-Bluff with time running out, 4:27 to go, trying to make it respectable. They have the ball at their own 40, 60 yards away from pay dirt.
Well, I mean, I expect Pine-Bluff, they're going to finish this game off strong. I mean, every game they've been in close except for one. And one thing Mo Forte was really proud of his team about is they've been playing hard and competing week in and week out, regardless of the score. And even with those close losses, they still come out and compete every week.
And they do not give up. Here's Jonathan Moore at quarterback. Did not start the game. Wallace, the preseason player of the year, started the ball game, but gave way to Mr. Jonathan Moore, SWAC's number 5 passer and 6 in total offense. He injured his throwing hand against Grambling a week ago, and but he's in the lineup right now.
I mean, this Pine-Bluff team is still a dangerous team to play. I mean, you look at, going down the stretch, I mean, they can still upset some teams who have hopes of winning a SWAC title. So you have to be careful when you're playing such a talented team that's not doing well. They can get it together at any time.
Yeah, they play at Jackson State their next game, and like you said, there's a pass that goes incomplete. Just a little bit too big. I think if the receiver had stayed on the ground and not jumped in the air, that's Raymond Weber, he may have had a better chance of catching that.
Yeah, I think he just misjudged how high he could jump. Like you said, he would have ran under it almost like a punt. He would have had a better chance at catching it. But now Pine-Bluff is in a 3rd and 10 situation. And keep in mind, man, this Alabama A&M defense, 6 sacks on the day. So you have to be careful when you drop them back to pass. And there's remaining schedule of Arkansas Pine-Bluff.
At Jackson State, home against Prairie View and Southern. And they close out the season on the road. Those 2 games, Prairie View and Southern, gives them games number 2 and 3, only number 2 and 3 at home this year. So, they're on the road again next week when they play at Jackson State. But the only good thing, if there's a good thing, is that they're not playing Saturday, so they have a long stretch between now and the time they play the Tigers of Jackson.
Yeah, and Pine-Bluff is a dangerous team, because they're going to, if they lose this game, they'll be 1-6. So your team just looks at that record and say, okay, this isn't the Pine-Bluff from last year. We can beat these guys. But you have Jackson State, who's still definitely in the Eastern Division race. You also have Southern and Prairie View, who both have 2 losses in the West. So you're talking about teams who still have a chance to compete for the SWAC title, and they're playing a dangerous team like Pine-Bluff, who has nothing to lose. You can go for it on 3rd and 4th down and just go out there and relax and have fun.
Well, they've been bowling them over. That is Alabama A&M tonight. They also, Alabama A&M won the SWAC bowling championship last year. You saw a shot of Coach Jeffrey McCorvey. This is Alex McIntyre, her second shot, a strike. And then there's Shanice Graham. She rolls a strike right here, but it wasn't enough as they lost 3-1 to Fairleigh Dickinson University. Fairleigh Dickinson won the NCAA National Bowling title. But congratulations to Alabama A&M for getting to the NCAA Bowling Championship. They also got to the women's NCAA postseason round where they lost to Miami in the NCAA tournament. And so they had 3 championships in the SWAC last year: women's tennis, bowling, and of course in football. As you see the completion to Jason Jones down to the 45-yard line.
Yeah, Jason Jones, I mean, the one long bright spot, regardless of who's at quarterback or what's going on with the offensive line and running back situation, Jason Jones just goes out there and makes catches. He converts another 3rd down situation, 1st down for Pine-Bluff.
You said that was a 3rd down play, but again, the clock is not their ally right now with under 4 minutes to go in the contest. Anthony Jones' team has this well in hand right now, leading 31-14, a 17-point advantage. Finally throws out there, incomplete. Demetrius Beverly. This looks like he's not synced there with the pass, was it?
Yeah, he's just can't seem to judge the height of the football for the last 2 plays. I mean, he's been open and the pass has been in range, but he just can't seem to make the catch. But you know, if you look at this Alabama A&M team, and they're going to go on to play in this big Magic City Classic game in about 10 days away. So it's almost somewhat of a bye week because they don't have to play on this weekend. So they'll get some
and they
time
just
to
came
rest.
off of a bye weekend.
But in the last 5 years, I mean, the winner of that game has gone on to represent the East in the Eastern Division, I mean, in the SWAC championship game. So that lets you know, I mean, that rivalry between Alabama State and A&M, it really propels you. If you can win that Magic City Classic, it's a good chance you're going to finish off the year strong.
Well, Jackson State's going to have something to say about it this year. And they were rooting for Pine-Bluff tonight, but it wasn't to be. And, of course, Alabama A&M will be rooting for Grambling on Saturday. And here's the remaining schedule for Alabama A&M, of course, in the Magic City Classic, October 27th in Birmingham. Then they come home right here at Cruz Stadium to take on the Tigers of Jackson State. They close out the season with 2 games on the road at Alcorn down in Lorman and down in Prairie View down in Texas.
And you got to keep in mind, Prairie View A&M upset Alabama A&M last year, even though Alabama A&M went on to win the SWAC championship game. So you're going on the road to a Prairie View team that's much improved. That could be a dangerous game for the Bulldogs.
3rd and 8, and this one is complete to Bruce Peters, and Peters has a 1st down inside the 25 down to the 22-yard line. So Bruce Peters with the reception, a junior out of Orlando, Florida.
And Jonathan Moore, I mean, this guy is really coming here and making some good plays. Of course, we saw him in that SWAC championship game last year, but I mean, this guy's only a junior. I mean, this Pine-Bluff team, I think they'll have a lot to say as far as what's going on in the conference the end of this year, but especially next year. They still have that offensive line with only 1 senior on that front. I mean, these guys will really gel in the offseason and get together. And once that offensive line has that cohesiveness to go with the talented backs and the returning Jonathan Moore, and this offense can be high-powered once again.
Jonathan Moore running for his life, and he doesn't get away from our favorite defender, Maddox. Jeremy Maddox with another sack tonight.
And that's 4.
That's 4 for him.
And counting. I mean, this guy's having a great game. He's just turning the corner, and it seems like he's offsides almost on every play. I mean, he kind of reminds me of the way Freeney and Robert Mathis, a former Alabama A&M great, kind of team up for the coast, where every play you see, wow, was he offside? Was he offside? Because they're just so quick. But I guess the referee can't judge it because those guys are moving so fast, and there's no one on this team that can block him. I mean, he's pretty much in the zone tonight with 4 sacks on the night.
You're talking about former players at Alabama A&M in the NFL. Johnny Baldwin with Kansas City, and of course you mentioned Robert Mathis, who earned a Super Bowl ring with the Indianapolis Colts last season. Here's a run off the right side, and trying to get into the end zone once again. Mickey Dean with the run. And you look at Pine-Bluff, they have 3 players on NFL rosters right now. Running back Charles Ali is a rookie with the Cleveland Browns, and defensive back Dante Wesley in his 6th year with Carolina. He broke his collarbone, leaving the 2nd game of the season. He's out for the season. And defensive back Greg Wesley, 8th year with the Kansas City Chiefs. So it'll be a 3rd and 13. The ball at the 25-yard line with 1:25 to go. Here's the pass, incomplete. A little bit behind the intended receiver there. That was Remo Gay, the sophomore out of Bartlett, Tennessee.
It seems like Jonathan Moore can only get the connection with Jason Jones. And that's the guy who's making all the catches for him. Everyone else seems to misjudge the ball. That one was a little bit behind the receiver. He couldn't stop and catch it. So I wouldn't be surprised if Jonathan Moore in the 4th and 13 is once again looking at Jason Jones to make a play for him.
Well, he's been consistent. They did get one complete to Peters, Bruce Peters. Again, on the 4th down play. Steps up, throws into the end zone, and it's going to be incomplete.
He tried to get it to him.
Yeah, he tried to get it to Jason Jones, but it goes incomplete. 1:06 to go. They turn the ball over on downs, and even with timeouts remaining, Alabama A&M can just run out the clock.
Yeah, he finally get a chance to step up and throw a good pass. You can see his double, almost triple coverage. But, hey, if that's my hot guy and he's the only one making catches for me tonight, I'm going to throw it to him in triple coverage, too, and see if he can't make the spectacular play. But, hey, there's your guy, Jeremy Maddox, with 4 sacks on the night. This Alabama A&M defense, 8 sacks total, safety, 2 interceptions. I mean, just a dominating game by this Bulldog defense.
Certainly is, and you're talking about a couple big games coming up in the SWAC this weekend. Of course, the Grambling-Jackson State game down in Jackson on Saturday at noon. They'll kick that one off. And then, of course, Alcorn plays Southern down in Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
Alcorn's coming off that first win over Texas Southern last year, so see if they can keep that momentum going.
Mo Forte packing up. His team has no chance to win this one working from upstairs, where he's been pretty successful, 7-4 throughout his career. And when he's coached from up in the press box, because of health problems last year, he was forced by the doctor to coach up there, not be on the sideline, to try to reduce his stress. But I don't know if that reduces any stress or not.
Well, man, your team's not winning. We talked to me, hey, Mo, how's it going? Say, hey, Charlie, we need a win. And so, I mean, I think they have more wins in this team because they play hard, especially that defense. And they'll still get those big plays on offense. Mo Forte is a good coach and has a lot of good talent on this football team. If I'm a team that's in contention in the SWAC conference, I'm kind of nervous about playing this Pine-Bluff defense.
No question about it. Texas Southern plays at Mississippi Valley this Saturday. Of course, both of those teams are in the cellar of their respective divisions. Mississippi Valley only 1 win so far this year. Willie Totten, his team struggling down there. And, of course, Steve Wilson, his team at Texas Southern, has not won a game. They are 0-6, 0-5 in conference play. So something's going to have to give there.
You got to have a winner, which is the good thing. I mean, these kids compete hard. They go to class all day and come out here and practice. You hate for them not to have success, but unfortunately, in the game of football, you have to play to win.
Well, the final score here, 31-14. Alabama A&M comes out with the victory. They are 6-1, 4-1 in conference play. Next Thursday, ESPNU primetime college football brings you 7th-ranked Wofford against Western Carolina at 7:30 Eastern. Coming up next, women's volleyball. Pepperdine takes on Santa Clara in the ESPNU Volleyball Invitational presented by 76. Freddie Robinson, Charlie Neal. Now let's join Tracy Warren and Krista Bluff for women's volleyball.
It's a WCC matchup as the Pepperdine